Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to the latest episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. The podcast where this week we are excited. Well, of course, Everborn Saga can't hear me, but hopefully you, the audience, can hear me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me finish my intro, sir. Of course, no, well, the people heard me, but presumably you didn't hear me. By the way, people, if you can hear us, please let us know that you can hear us, because we are now live for the people to be able to hopefully hear and see us. Yep, loud and clear. They can hear. Oh, and he says we can't hear him either. Everborn Saga, would you please speak, sir?
I am speaking. Can the people hear me?
Can the people hear you? Are you being heard? Let's make sure.
Or am I being silenced?
Am I silencing him? No, I'm not silencing him. Hold on.
He's silencing these truth bombs.
Yes. We can hear him. There we go. Okay. So yes, we are
here. You can't stop the
conspiracies,
K. Sante.
No, we cannot stop the conspiracies, ladies
with your PC propaganda.
Oh, brother, don't start that, man. We're gonna get into it today. It's gonna be interesting. Don't start that. Let's see. Yeah. No, we have not cut his mic. We have not stopped him from speaking his nonsense.
Sure, that's what they'll tell you.
We want him to speak his nonsense.
Next thing you know, I'm gonna have to do a Twitter live show.
Okay. So yes, Mr. Everborn Saga, how are you this morning, sir?
I am fantastic. There's a lot of things happening this week.
Okay.
What happened? What?
No.
Something happened?
No. Okay. I'm asking you. You said you're fantastic because a lot of things have happened. I want to know what these fantastic things that have happened.
Oh no! I mean, I got some. We have some knees to discuss. Let's talk about the bartering of knees.
Okay.
We'll save that. We'll save that later. I don't know if that's a pause there, but I'm going to say it just in case.
Okay, just in case it's needed. Yeah.
Yes. Just hedging my bets there, because there's some assurances that were made about the ROG Ally, and one of us was right, and one of us is a fraud.
So you want to talk about the constant refrain that Sonic didn't win against God of War, but you're still
best-selling 3D Sonic game of all time.
But
that
wasn't the bet, sir. That was about.
I just want to give people context now. That
anyway,
neither here nor there. So that happened, and then the game of the year 2023, 2024,
Redfall?
and probably 2025.
Redfall. Come on, let's go.
Tears
Redfall.
of the Kingdom drop, and we are gonna have some emulation discussions.
Yes, we are.
Because we can now.
Yes, we are. Yes, yes, we can.
And we're gonna talk about my Nintendo kick this week because I've been playing a lot of Switch games. This week.
Okay. Well, all right. Before we begin, let us get a couple super chats out of the way because right off the bat, of course, Mr. Joanna Dark starts early. Before we even get on here, he's on here dropping the slander and showing his appreciation and the support. We appreciate you, sir. Mr. Joanna Dark's first one with a $2 super chat, and he says, "I am calling Doug Bowser on both of you for Zelda." Mr. Joanna Dark, I don't know why you would do that.
Take him to school.
Because at the end of the day, if you own your media, you are legally allowed to take it out of its source and bring it elsewhere and play it elsewhere, as long as you own the media, which we do. Ha. So that's neither here nor there. Mr. Joanna Dark came back with another $2 super chat saying, "Sonic wishes it could be Zelda. Let's go, Angry Bird." All right. So he anticipated our response of the first one and decided to snipe you on the second one already. But no, we appreciate you, Mr. Joanna Dark. It's good that you're here. I see a lot of folks in here. Oh, we see Tate Talks in here. Welcome, good sir. It's been a while since we've seen you in here. I hope all is well. Live Supremacy's in here. Doovy is in here, right? We have Lucius Augustus. Thank you guys so much for being here, as usual. Let folks know that we're here. Let folks know the conversations have started. Let folks know the PG-13 slander is about to get off. But I will start with you, Mr. Everborn Saga. Yes, we've been playing Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, we will talk about Tears of the Kingdom. But of course, there have been other games that have been out. I will regale y'all with some of the games I've been playing. But let me start with you, Everborn. What has been going through your playlist this week?
So, lot of handheld stuff.
Okay.
We will talk about Tears of the Kingdom in a minute, so I'll save that. Obviously, that's one of the things we're playing. But this week, I have been on a 2D platformer kick.
Okay.
And this is actually a little bit interesting. It's more than just gaming. So, you guys know I'm working on the Ariel's Adventure game. You've seen the trailer. A lot of people have, seem to be excited about it, which makes me smile. And
stresses him the F out, ladies and gentlemen. Also stresses
all the
time.
F out.
Just
causes me not to sleep, right? Causes me not to game because I'm trying to work on my own game. So, but neither here nor there. So the game is in a place now where all the mechanics are in place, and we just need to design the specific levels and puzzles so that they are fun. So we're really at the Mario Maker stage of the game development, if that makes sense. So because we're in the Mario Maker stage and it's a 2D platformer, we're actually using Mario Maker to prototype the levels, and then we're bringing so we use that just because it allows us to get people who aren't necessarily into game development to kind of give us ideas for each levels, because we're going for 60 levels, so we want them to all feel unique. So I've been trying to employ some people, and if you're interested, you know where to find me in the DMs. Maybe you can have your level featured. Again, it's a 2D platformer where you jump on people's heads, and we have a lot of similar elements, so it's kind of easy to design in Mario Maker once you have our rule set, which is, and this will be interesting. And I know we're talking about games we're playing, but I think the audience will find this interesting.
Yeah.
You guys do. So the way the levels work in Ariel's Adventure is there's no difficulty setting, but there are 3 routes you can take in any level. So we kind of like to call it a Mariovania. So the idea is you'll be able to unlock different parts of a level once you unlock specific weapons, and that's what the forge is for. And the forge requires the collectibles that you get in the levels to make new power-ups, which will allow you to kind of break walls, turn on switches, things like that. Anyway, so there's 3 paths. The middle path, which is the sort of straightforward normal route. If you go the upper path, you're the easy route, and the lower path is the more difficult route, but you'll get more rewards going that way. So that's kind of what, maybe it's more of a Sonic approach to Mario level design, if that makes sense.
J Mo Money says there better not be a hedgehog in that game. If there is, I'm taking it to the courts.
No, there's no hedgehogs. So so there's that, and then we, so I'm saying all this to say I've been playing Mario Maker all week just to understand how it works.
To try and get your feet wet. I get you. Okay.
Right, and I have some people working on some other prototype levels, and then we try to kind of make that happen in our game. And so in doing that, I have also been playing Super Mario Deluxe, which is which is a 2D platformer, just to kind of get some ideas. And while I was playing Super Mario, which is, by the way, if you haven't played that game, really good. I mean, it's not like Super Mario World good, but like it's 3D character designs, but it's a 2D perspective game. And it is surprisingly difficult.
Yeah,
right?
Most of those Mario games are unusually difficult. Yeah.
Right. So the game will have achievements and trophies. Yes, Random Citizen.
Random Citizen with $2 super chat. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you, man.
And again, our levels are kind of designed to be replayed once you unlock new power-ups. You kind of go back. I've also been playing Metroid Dread on the Switch.
Oh yeah.
Which again, fantastic title, and just lets you know that like this whole 2D platformer kick that I've been on, it started with Ori, and now I'm in Mario Deluxe and Metroid Dread, and I was gonna play Hollow Knight, but then Silk Song got delayed again, so I have some time on that. And I've gone back to Sonic Mania.
Oh, of course,
and I'm just like, this is where I live, right? This 2D platformer stuff. I don't need all these FPS games. I don't need all it. I don't need the Sad Dad simulators and the multiplayer time suck games. 2D platformers is the heart and the core and the essence of gaming. It's what I started with. I don't know about everybody else. I love it, man. I can't get enough. We need more, and if there aren't more, then I'm gonna make more myself. So that's what I've been doing all week when I wasn't playing Tears of the Kingdom, which we will save that for later because that's the biggest discussion. But so Mario Deluxe, Super Mario Deluxe, Metroid Dread, Sonic Mania, all on the Switch, and I got these new handheld that makes the Switch feel like a Steam Deck Xbox controller, kind of, right?
A more adult control base for the Switch.
Grown man hands.
Man hands. Yes, I have the same.
Yeah, so it changes the game on the Switch. And I've also been doing some emulation, but again, we will talk about that later. But I implore everybody, man, get back to your gaming roots. Like, try some of these 2D platformers. I know we think like, it has to be all about, speeds and feeds and frames per second and shooters and multiplayers. I'm telling you, man, the kind of fun I have playing these 2D platformer games,
hey, man,
I don't think I get that in some of these story-driven games.
You can have
I
absolutely doing both while playing a 2D platformer. Getting 300 frames per second on the 2D
Oh my God, here we go. No, but I say this to say, like, I love the Jedi Survivors, and I had fun with Redfall. I know there's shortcomings, but I had fun with it. I just stopped playing it because like they're going to patch it, and I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice by dealing with it now. So whenever they patch it, I will check it out again.
Okay.
Like the game's, a miss for a bunch of reasons, and we talked about that last week. But I didn't hate it. I hated it. I was angry at it because I saw the potential there. So when they patch this thing, I'll come back. But I'm telling you, man, like you get away from all of that speeds and feed stuff. And I know you said you can still have it, but it's right. When I play a 2D platformer, it is really just for the joy of gaming.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And there's a certain feeling that I don't get playing all of these like super high end AAA games.
Believe it
That's
or
all
not,
I gotta say about that.
Believe it or not, it's funny you talk about those 2D platformers because I too have been getting a lot more into the 2D platformers this week, and that is because as Daddy has been getting his hands on a bunch of handhelds and talking handhelds and enjoying handhelds, the kids start going, I want to play with that too, and then I'm just like, no, we're definitely not going to let you play with that thing because it's too expensive. So,
wait. Well, before you finish this story, I have to tell you something. So, because I was on the Switch all week, I had donated my Switch to the kids.
Okay.
Because they had two, and we run a daycare in one of the units in the building that we own, and we kind of took the kids' Switches away and gave them to the daycare so the kids could have stuff to play or whatever as like a reward or whatever. And so I had gave my kids the Switch and they would play that. But then Tears of the Kingdom was coming out, and Daddy had to confiscate
the old Switch. Yes, sir. I know how you feel, brother.
To play all these games. So I ended up buying 2 Switches for the girls this week, just so that I could take back my OG Switch. It's kind of hilarious.
I know the game you're playing because I'm playing a similar game at this point, actually. So remember your old G Cloud, right?
Oh God,
yes.
That thing.
Calm down. Yes, take it or leave it as far as cloud gaming is concerned. But one thing it's actually unusually good at, and you said you did a little bit of it, and I didn't know how good at this it would be. But it's a very good emulation device. I didn't know this. My kids want to play Mario Kart. My kids want to play, some GameCube thing, some Wii thing, whatever. It is unusual how well it runs on this thing. So I'm like, okay.
So is that are these like Android-based emulators?
Yes, they're these days a lot of the emulators are platform agnostic. So like, your Yuzus, your RetroArch and a few of the other applications, there are versions that are on various platforms, including Android as well as Linux as well as Windows. So if you know how to manipulate an emulator on one platform, chances are you can find the same thing on another, right? So I accidentally discovered that this thing is actually, well, it's not like amazing. You can't throw everything you want at it. But to a certain platform level, you can throw a bunch of GameCube games in here. You can throw a bunch of Wii games in here, and they play relatively well to the point where you can just hand this off to someone and have offline, that's the key there, offline gaming with no issues. So I've been actually playing a lot of, Mario Kart Double Dash or whatever on here with the kids and having a really good time. A lot of actually also some ye old OG Sonic 1, 2, and 3. I'm trying to get the kids into the original stuff, so I've been playing a bit of that as well.
So I have a recommendation for you of something that may be very good with the kids, and I was just kind of reminded of this. This is a platformer game that was on the Dreamcast that Sega made that didn't get a lot of but if you go back and play it now, it's kind of ahead of its time a little bit, and it's really fun if you go back like emulation to do it. It's called Billy Hatcher.
I've heard of Billy Hatcher. It's a weird looking game.
It is weird, and there's a lot of fun like activities that they have you do.
Yeah,
and I really think the kids would get a kick out of it. Like it's proper fun. Just try it out with them if you can.
I just got my daughter into the world of WarioWare, which that's a whole different. It's an IP that seems to be dormant now, but back in its day, it was a really big IP, and a bunch of mini games, as you know. So like she's really enjoying the fact that they're cool little bite-sized games that you can enjoy without having complicated control schemes. So yeah, if this is anything like that, I'm definitely gonna give it a shot and have her give that a shot. Yeah, but the key is, we've been talking handhelds and this and that for a while, so it seems like we're getting into handhelds ourselves in our household with old school retro games as well as some new school stuff. But okay, so as you can see on the screen, I am playing more Redfall. I don't know if I'll finish it, because like you said, it's got a spark, but I haven't gotten to a place where I'm just like, okay, the fun stuff and the good stuff is so good that I'm going to give the bad stuff a pass. I'm kind of in the middle deciding on that a little bit, right? But I will tell you that Jedi Survivor, I'm past that point. I'm at that point where even though it's got bugs, and I'll tell you, I'm playing it, it crashes. And then I'm playing it again for 30 minutes, it crashes. And then I'm playing it again. But during
where are you playing it? Wait a minute. Where are you playing Jedi Survivor, sir?
Both on console and PC, sir. I've had the same amount of crashes. Is it crashing on
console?
Yes.
Tell the truth. Shame the devil.
I'm telling the truth, and I'm
Shout
shaming
out
the
to
devil.
King
David. It has had similar crashes both on console and on PC. Only difference is, on console, not only does it have the crashes, it also seems like it's unoptimized. Whereas on PC, I have overhead, so it's still, I'm able to make it work.
I really haven't had any problems on console yet, but again,
is this one of those?
Second planet.
Is this one of those? It didn't happen to me.
It's working for me. Exactly. It's working in the dev environment.
It's working in the dev environment. So what's the problem? But yes.
So I want to just 1 second completely derail.
Yeah.
Shout out to King David again with the hold the line.
Oh yeah.
Because I just want to point out that if by some miracle, and again, I am on record, I think that they should move on, go get Sega. But
this is for those who don't capture our sporadic conversation. This is about ABK. Continue.
Yes, I think I don't want them to fight this out for 2 years. I want them to move on. But it is not because I am afraid that they won't get it or whatever. It is ain't nobody got time for that, right? But if they are able to pull this rabbit out of the hat, right? Do you understand that Hold the Line is gonna go down in this community forever?
He's gonna get a new moniker
and ever, and all of the people that all the fair weather fans and the yellow bellies, whatever, all of those people that's gonna come back around when the sun is shining again. And I don't believe the sun is not shining now because of one game, but that's another. We had that discussion last week. But my point is, if the deal does go through, that speech from King David is gonna live forever.
In infamy, it will live in infamy. We will call him King David Leonidas. No, I'm sorry.
So,
get a new moniker. Absolutely. That was a great speech, by the way. I'm looking forward to seeing how all of this ends. But let's not take the speech away from the man.
It is the kind of speech you do at the beginning of the third act of a movie.
That's right. Yes. Right before the big
after
battle.
The all is lost moment. The third act starts with this speech, and the whole audience is hyped.
No, but I'm
seriously call him Lord of the Rings King David.
That's right. Yes. The Lord of the Speeches. No. But okay. So, have you been playing any more Jedi Survivor?
No. I'm on it. There's been too much. There's been too much. This. But again, I loved every minute I played. I loved all the upgrades, and I have not even gotten some of the powers that I see people sharing clips of. So I have no.
By the way, the stances we were talking about with the lightsaber and
there are more.
The blaster.
I heard you can get a gun.
Well, no, that's what I was talking about. Remember, we talked about it last week. You can get a blaster and a lightsaber. I finally got that stance this week. So now I have the broadsword. I have the one where you can have the lightsaber, which seems very light. You almost hold it like a dagger, and then you also have a blaster as well. Interesting ways of playing. Broadsword, very very deliberate and lumbering. To the point where you're getting hit left and right, and you can't quit animations. It's kind of it's almost they're dipping their toe into like
it's Souls-like. It's
not
Souls-like,
Souls-like.
where you got to count the animation frames.
Sure,
for
sure,
the
yeah.
hits and
It's
the
Souls-like. It's like what's the Dragon not Dragon Quest, the game where you beat up destroy monsters and then use their components. Monster Hunter, almost Monster Hunter a little bit in its gameplay. With the different stances, it's interesting what they're doing. It's not full bore; it's kind of dipping a toe in, but it's kind of cool.
So let me ask you a question. And I know because they're telling a very specific story, but I almost felt like with all the different stances and like switching between them like that on the fly, that's great. It's super convenient. Do you think it would have been better if it was like multiple characters that had all those stances? And the reason I say that is because Jedis normally have a specific stance that they're kind of comfortable with and trained for. All my Star Wars people in here, come in here and tell me I'm wrong. I've never seen a Jedi that could do all these
that doesn't switch stances.
And it kind of throws me off a little bit.
Understood. Yeah.
Not in a bad way, because I understand it's a video game and that's fine. But I just wonder if it would have been better suited if, like,
you know what? To your
different
point,
characters that had different stances.
To your point, depending on what part of the game you're playing, you have companions, right? And you have different companions that have different skill sets and move sets that come with you, and they're NPCs. And there have been instances where I've been with these companions, and I'm just like, I wish this was a co-op game that had the option to let that companion be a different character that somebody else can play with me, because their moveset looks cool as hell. Like, I kind of wish that they'd given you that option to be able to say, hey, you're Cal Kestis, and the various companions you get can be those various characters. It feels like it would have worked well in that world. I don't know why. Having multiple people running around doing different things, having those cool powers, especially when you're fighting certain characters. On that note, I will give them props, because for some reason, unlike most games, I have to say Jedi Survivor's companions are the most useful I've played of almost any NPC ever. Like, you're in the middle of a battle and you see the companion in the heat of battle with another character, you could just move on, because that dude will take care of that guy. He'll take care of business. It won't eventually be like every other game where they'll just kind of keep him at bay.
Easy though, where
no,
because this is always a balance, right? Like, you don't want the AI companion,
taking care of.
This is weird. Okay, no, my monitor just went out. I thought the PC cut off because of my RAM issue, but I'm good.
Boy.
No. So you don't want. Don't get me started.
Potato Alienware, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue. Go ahead.
All right. But like I said, you don't want your AI companion to be too competent, because then the game just becomes like easy, because exactly. Yeah. So then you just become like a bystander. So you have to have a balance where it still allows you to do the work.
So I will tell you, and I didn't make hay of it because it was in between the show. I think it was last week. I finally beat, yes, fraud alert on me, I finally beat Ragnarok. It took a long time, but I finally beat Ragnarok. Yes. I beat it like last week.
Wow.
There's so many games, bro. I finally beat Ragnarok. And I think maybe because I was still playing Ragnarok in a very sipping kind of fashion, it made me acutely aware to the differences in how NPCs are handled compared to Jedi Survivor. But I will tell you, like in Ragnarok, that NPC's there just to funnel the enemies to you. Every enemy looks at you. They bypass the NPC and come directly towards you, right? So it's like, how long will that NPC keep the enemy at bay while you take care of this one, so that you can then eventually go take care of that one? That's how it seems to work. Even in Burning Shores, in Horizon Forbidden West, Burning Shores, same way. Where it's like the NPC is there to assist, quote unquote, but they're just there keeping them busy while you take care of the other enemy, so that you can then eventually come and take care of the one that they're taking care of now. But in this one, in Jedi Survivors, it's like they are taking care of those enemies as well. And I hear you on the sometimes it breeds to making it feel too easy, but not in this instance. Like you can he or she, depending on what part of the game you're in, like, will take care of that enemy for you while you're still dealing with other enemies, and there's just enough to go around to make you not feel like.
So what you're saying is it's properly balanced.
It is properly balanced.
Right.
It's not only is it properly balanced, but it's that idea that me and my companion are on this battlefield, and you, the enemy, see us, and all you do is keep looking at me, right? You know what I'm talking about. We've seen this in many.
I'm looking at him. He looking at me. I'm looking at him. He looking at me. We trying to figure out what the F just happened.
What the hell is going on? That's right. That's right. You know, and the worst thing about it is it takes you out of the immersive world, because more often than not, like, you'll be in a crouch mode, you'll be in kind of like sneaky mode and all that, and your companion can run around the whole field. The bad guys see them easily and do nothing, as if they don't exist. The minute your head pops out, oh, it's over, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like they are programmed not to see your companions, and it makes it feel like that's not your companion, and they're all basically working for you. You know, I've played many games.
Why are you coming at Plague's Tale like that? That's not
actually
nice.
Believe it or not, I'm not coming at Plague's Tale with this, but Plague's Tale is a victim of that. I'm talking about I'm talking about
an offender of that. You mean?
True. I'm talking about Forbidden West is very much like that. Like, I'm talking about The Last of Us Part 2. All games that I've been playing little by little, you know, on the various systems and whatnot over the last couple of weeks. But I've noticed that a lot, because I play a lot of single player games that then have companions with us. Right? And I noticed how those companions behave, so much so that it's made Jedi Survivor surprisingly different for me, because for some reason, Jedi Survivor does not struggle from that same problem. Their companions can actually be proper companions, almost human-like in their execution when they're with you while you're fighting. So it's very interesting. I think people should pay attention to that a bit more as they're going, because that, to me, is part of the next gen of games that you're looking for. Not games that make you feel like we're all here for you. The minute you step away, the whole world ends. No, you should just be a part of that world while it's going on, rather than them staging everything for your benefit. You know. I hope I'm explaining myself well. You understand what I'm saying?
I dig it.
Yeah. So no, I think.
Is this Halo gameplay now?
It is not Halo gameplay,
no.
sir.
Okay.
This is Redfall gameplay.
No.
I don't know if you were being facetious with that.
I saw those autumn trees at
and you
the
thought
arborvitaes.
And you thought slip space.
Yeah.
Yes, it might be that
trees
the case.
not blowing in the wind.
Stop
but then,
it.
You know.
See, there he goes. He's being facetious. All right.
First of all, I love Halo Infinite. And
so do I. Yes, I enjoy it.
That was just a campaign. So
yeah. Oh, Erodimus in here. Thank you for being here, Erodimus. He says, Kay Asante loves playing them Sad Dad Simulation. Indeed, I love me some Sad Dad Simulators, I'll be honest. I love me some sad. Well, but I will say it's because the quintessential Sad Dad Simulator came out right when I was turning into a dad. So I've always had there's always been a soft spot.
But were you sad?
I wasn't yet, but now definitely. You know, I've been a dad for a while now, so definitely sad. Of course, if you're a dad and you're not sad, you're not doing it.
No. What I need is an angry dad simulator or a tired dad simulator. That's what I would gravitate to.
A Danny Glover type
moving back and forth between. Yes, I need an I'm too old for this crap dad simulator.
That'd be a great game. Oh man, that's the game we should build. The game for the gray beards. Oh, that'd be fantastic. Okay.
You know what you need? You need the disappointed dad simulator.
I'm not
angry. I'm not mad.
I'm just
disappointed.
And that is your ultimate move. Like, you can't do anything else. That is your ultimate move. And then you give them the eyes, and then people get very, very, very frustrated. As you can tell, you're among people who are dads who actually specifically have daughters. That's a piece of the puzzle that matters to this conversation as well. But okay,
wait till the son comes of age.
Oh,
stop. People think that the daughters are harder. Your son coming of age is not an easy thing to handle.
Moving quickly along before you give me an existential crisis right now.
I just turned him into a sad dad in real time.
He just turned me into sad dad IRL. Yes, let's not go there. Let's not go there. First and foremost, I will say we have about 74 people in here. Thank you for being here. Please consider hitting the like button if you haven't done so.
How many likes do we have? We
have 38 likes right now. Please think about it. Hit the like button.
We have this talk every weekend.
Hey man, sometimes it's necessary to remind people. I was talking to my kid a couple of days ago. Why do I have to tell you the same thing over and over again? No. Please hit the like button if you haven't. Consider subscribing. Tell people we here, and we're about to get into the gaming discussion. But first and foremost, you know what, Everborn Saga, let us get into the talk of Tears of the Kingdom. Tell me
so soon
how much? Yes, because I want to get into that before that will start us off on the news talk.
Well, we should say Game of the Year.
Well, okay. Before we get there, I must bring Everborn Saga to the court and let everyone know before we even have this conversation who you are dealing with.
Careful.
Everborn Saga stands even harder for Sega for Zelda than he does for Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, I said it. He stands even harder for Zelda than he does for Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm warning y'all right now that he stands so hard for Zelda.
Well, pause. With that, Zelda. Actually, no, because you said Zelda. Anyway. Go ahead. Sorry.
With that in mind, tell me how much you love this game.
Okay, so first of all, they can cancel the Game Awards right now. That's it. And first of all, if you have played the game, right, you already know when I say that opening is Elden Zelda.
Yeah, it's hard. It's gotten very like hard. It's gotten aggressive and dark.
Right. So pause. But the thing is, actually, you know what? Before we continue, because that just made me remember, we are in the process of upgrades to the channels in terms of visuals and things like that, intros and all that. You are going to love the new intro. I actually listened to it on repeat just because. But what we wanted to ask, because I'm gonna have my art team from the Everborn Comics create emojis, and we wanted to know from you, the audience, what kind of emojis you wanted us to.
Yes, please. This
channel.
Is
so
call
please throw it in the chat.
In the chat,
throw it in the chat,
comments when this posts. What you want to see. I know Mr. Gerald Mack. I don't know if you're in here right now. He's great supporter of this channel.
Don't tell him.
You know, great supporter of this channel. Great supporter of the show. I know he has had some requests. So if you have more requests, Gerald Mack, put it in the comments. Put it in the chat. You know, reach me in the DM. Anyone that wants any kind of crazy emoji, anything you want to add to this channel, now's the time, folks. We've gathered some of the super chat money, which we thank you guys.
Wants to hold the line emoji.
Hold the line emoji. Okay.
But I feel like ILP's gonna have that.
Yeah,
so we gotta let.
That might be a TM.
We might have to license that from them.
Yeah, that might be a TM situation. Now, indeed. You know, but any of those things you want, you know, bring them on board. Let us know. Yeah, we see Pixel Bit G in here saying you definitely need to charge him more one. You're damn right. We need to charge him more one. We'll do that, but. You know,
I was thinking a Sonic one, but then does Sega send the ninjas like Nintendo sends the ninjas?
Well, like I was thinking a Sonic one, but only if and free shoes. I see you. Yes. Yes. Only a Sonic one. Only if it's like that Slimmo backslap emoji where he's slapping Sonic in the face. I'll accept that one.
Absolutely
that was we want that one as an emoji. I would have talked to the man about letting me use that as an emoji. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's needless to say. Before we move forward, you know, we've been talking a lot on the show and in the background about all the potential interesting things we're going to add. We're really getting in now. Oh, and of course, I say his name and the man appears. Mr. Slimmo backslap is in the chat. Welcome, sir. He says you can use the Sony
Absolutely not.
emoji.
Nope.
That's the one, bro. I'm going to get that one. We're going to use that as an emoji. And, of course, not to be outdone, Mr. Rodimus in here. Thank you so much for being here. He's here with a $5 super chat saying, Up for all those who are getting sick of 30 FPS games last week and now are playing Tears of the Kingdom and suffering playing this game of the year at 20 frames per second. You know what, Erodimus?
No one is suffering playing Tears of the Kingdom, sir.
And you know what, Erodimus? You know what, sir? I would tell you that myself and also Mr. Everborn Saga are not limited by that frame rate. But we will get there, sir. We will get there. Yes.
Well, all right. Honestly, so I know what you're getting at, but I've actually
but you have limited
on the Switch.
You have chosen to limit yourself.
I've chosen to play it on the Switch. I'm sorry. Wow. The game looks amazing on the OLED.
Okay.
It runs very smooth.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
So,
but you know what? Let's start that talk. This is the person
that's coming to you. Okay. Yes. We can start that talk. All I'm saying is, I like so much darker opening to the game, and you can see that like the Ganon in the beginning of this game looks like the final boss that you meet in Elden Ring, which I can't remember his name right now. But they're kind of frozen in time in the same way, and then they wake up. It's very reminiscent, and even like the orchestra in this game feels like they've kind of stepped it up. Everything about it just feels epic. Slow-mo, have you tried Tears of the Kingdom on your OLED before you talk?
And Slow-mo is saying 720p on 720p on a 4K OLED.
It's actually 1080 when it's plugged into the dock, sir, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, and by the way, you know what? I initially wasn't, I didn't understand the fraud alert that he was putting on you, but now I get it. I thought you said it looks great on the OLED because you're playing on an OLED Switch. You're actually just plugging it in and blasting it to a 4K OLED screen? Yeah, I see what he's talking about.
What are you talking about?
I thought you were playing it on your OLED screen Switch.
No. This is the CX.
Yeah,
I don't. I said it. I don't know if it's the VRR or the VRS or the VCR or the VHS or whatever it is.
It's none of them.
It looks great on my TV. So
it's none of them V's because none of them V's kick in at that low frame rate. So it's none of them V's.
And by the way, there is no fraud alert here because I am the one who keeps telling you people, and I said you people.
What do you mean, you people?
Are more than speeds and feeds. I am the one who said I did not mind the 30 FPS on Redfall. It was all the other stuff. I'm the one who does not care about that stuff. And the only reason I said that Ghostwire was unplayable in quality mode is because
it was sluggish controls,
pacing issues.
Yeah, sluggish controls.
Well, it's not sluggish controls. It was like there was really pacing issues with the frames. There's not all 30 FPS is the same.
Are the same.
A game can look smooth and be at 30 FPS. So I am not that guy. I'm not that guy who runs to Digital Foundry to say, look, this one has 2160p and that one only has 1800p. I don't care about that stuff.
As a person who cares about the speeds and feeds,
a game is a game.
As a person who cares about the speeds and feeds, although I agree with you, I still feel the need to speak on the people who you're describing and say, what do you mean, you people? I'm sorry, continue, sir.
Yeah, what do I mean, you people? I mean the slow-mos of the world, specifically.
Wow. Okay, continue, sir. Continue with your slander this morning.
The games are about the experience, and you can't dial back art just by saying.
So, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, all of this is to stand and to cap for the 15 frames per second game that is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. You notice the preamble right now. You notice all the preamble before he then describes this 12 frames per second game. All the preamble before we start discussing this 4 frames per second game. You notice every time I talk about it, the frames drop even lower.
You see what the mag said. You people need to hit the like button.
Indeed, you people need to hit the like button. Thank you for being here, Mag. Good to see you, brother. But no, continue.
Hey,
Continue.
Pixelbit G sends a $2 super chat that says
yeah.
VRR does not work below 40.
Below 40 frames per
FPS, my
second.
G.
That's right.
Then maybe it was the VCR or the VHS. It was some kind of V's in my TV.
That's right. One of the V's, indeed. Yes. Continue. Yes.
So listen, I don't care about the frame rate. I didn't care about it in Redfall. I'm fine. I will live. I'm a console peasant, whatever you want to call me.
Troglodyte. But continue.
Go ahead. That's not my beef. That's all of y'all letting Digital Foundry tell you how to feel and chew your food for you.
Continue, you troglodyte. Continue.
You people.
You people.
I chew my own food. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what is happening. Like, my monitor keeps cutting off. Something's going on. Oh, I know what's happening. Okay.
Maybe it's the VHS that's in your monitor.
That's what I think it is. No, I think it's like the auto whatever. Let me take off auto because this thing is stupid.
So and then of course Pixelbit G, not to be outdone over here with all the slander. He says gameplay is king unless it's on Xbox. So yes, it is definitely going down this morning.
I never had the smoke.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
So
many have had that smoke. Many have had that smoke. But okay.
Many have pretended to have that smoke.
Yeah,
and they cannot look at the screen with their naked eye and tell where a frame drop happened or how many. Your browser has lost connection to your camera. Oh, that's me. Don't worry about that.
Oh boy. You know, huh?
You guys can still hear me, right?
We can hear you. You're coming in full audio. But for some reason, it seems like you're having technical issues where you are. Is that the case?
No. You guys can't see it. There's something going on. No. Slowbo Backslap says Redfall gameplay ain't king.
It's the jester.
It's the jester.
Yes. Yes, Slow. We know. Thank you, Slow. Appreciate you. Yes.
So. No, but listen. And
there's
Pixel
a reason
says that wasn't for him.
There's a reason why we're talking Tears of the Kingdom, but showing Redfall footage. Just say it. Continue.
Yeah. So Pixel says that wasn't for me. I know it wasn't for me but my words aren't for you, Pixel, because you have always talked about gameplay being for like playing games for games.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. And I just think we get away from that because we need to find a reason to argue because reasons. I don't know.
Sure.
people are weird. So my point is, can we get back to the experience of the greatness that is Tears of the Kingdom?
True, but I will not let you get away with framing it as a one versus
I already got away with it. I'm in the
you
getaway
didn't.
car.
No,
That's
you're not.
We made it to Mexico. We just passed the border. It's over.
There is no, it doesn't have to be either or. Either your speeds and feeds or you like gameplay. You can like both, right? Because there are many out there making disingenuous arguments, right? Using the speeds and feeds, and on that, I agree with you 100%. Making Digital Foundry the arbiter of whether you like it or you don't, and all of that, I completely agree with you. But you can also be a speeds and feeds person who knows and appreciates that stuff while still going, hey, Vampire Survivor is one of the greatest games ever made. Both can be true. Continue, sir. So you started playing Tears of the Kingdom, right? First, where did you start playing it? Did you start playing it on the Switch, or did you start playing it elsewhere?
That depends on if lawyers were listening. But hypothetically, I'm not saying that this is the case. I started playing on the Switch with the copy that I paid for fully, and I have my receipt in case anyone is listening. That being said, once I had my official purchased copy of the software in question, I did all the necessary and legal steps to copy said game and use it in the perfectly legal emulator. Did I get that right? I'm just talking to my lawyer on the side. Yeah, they said I got it right. So here's the thing. Right. Because emulation is perfectly legal, I have tried to play
frowned
this
upon
thing.
by our Lord and Savior Nintendo. But continue, yes.
That's not. I don't pray to that God. So I've been trying to play it on the Steam Deck and the PC through, again,
Various
very legal emulators.
Various
Mr. Joanna
emulators,
Dark.
yes. Yeah.
Get off the phone with the feds.
Yep. Don't, as Everborn, as the King David says, don't come for me until I send for you. Oh,
listen,
Lord.
Is
Lord.
Mr. Joanna Dark right next to Jim Ryan snitching? Anyway.
Freaking septic sauce in here saying I'm legit naked. Yeah, thank you there, guys. We appreciate you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's real good.
All right.
So you played it on your legally acquired piece of software. You played it on a different medium than it was intended, but legally. And then what happened?
So on the PC, it's a little better, but there's artifacting issues. But there have been some patches that have come out that I have not installed yet.
I will warn you. I will let you know that Yuzu is a go, and everything we wanted it to be, it is. But you don't know that because I hadn't told you until just now. But continue.
How dare you, sir? So yeah, my video just keeps losing signal. This is very strange.
But we still hear you.
I gotta
and
check
sounds,
the wire in the
decent.
back. No, I just think
yeah.
it's like the. Is Dell really gonna make me buy a new PC after 2 years?
Dell is going to make you buy a new PC because you were one of them troglodytes that chose to use their system. But that's neither here nor there, sir. Tell me more about how much you love the game that is 1.5 frames per second, known as Tears of the Kingdom. Go ahead.
Okay, so that being said, it runs on the Switch currently with the with what I'm playing with versus the PC and the Steam Deck. The PC, the 3080, is more tolerable, but there's a lot of artifacting issues. There's issues with
I think it's
clouds.
Because of
it's
the emulator specifically that you're using
Yeah.
that's causing that specific, like those artifacting issues. Yeah,
and the frame rate is
not
good,
great.
but not
Yeah, not
great, and you can tell.
Yeah.
And on the Steam Deck, it's like basically unplayable.
Also not great.
Right
but
now.
with Yuzu, it changes the game a little bit. We in a different place now, but we hadn't spoken about it, so you didn't know that. Yes, it is now actually. But yes, continue. Yes.
So we will see about that, but so far I have had actually the best experience on the Steam on the OG Switch itself.
Switch. Yep.
So which I find super interesting, but we'll see how that goes. It's an ongoing journey. We'll see.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
happens.
I mean, the company is tuning it for the device that it's made for. So even if that device is like, a decrepit piece of abacus, it's still made for that device, so it will run best on that device. But if you give it time, as the other sources mature, you'll see it get very close.
The modding community to get in there.
Yes.
Now let's get into the game itself. Aside from the whole emulation discussion, which I just think it's kind of good to try, just so people can see that.
Well, before we move on from emulator, real quick, let me just quickly say. We've been playing with it for a while. We've been testing it, emulating it, and all of that. On PC, at this point, it runs like butter. I'm talking 4K, 60, really, really good. Depending on the emulator you use, some of them are, as Everborn was saying, there's some artifacting, this and that, and a few other things. But as the game is now officially out in the world and the modding community have gotten their hands on it, I expect that you will get to a point where you'll be able to play that thing like excellently on handhelds.
And again, I do not recommend doing this unless you've already bought the game.
Exactly.
Putting that out there.
And that's what would, and you must know what you're doing before you do it, right? You have to learn to dump
Sailing
the
high
game
seas is a dangerous business. That's all we're going to say.
All I'm saying, I don't like to use the term the high seas because that has its bad connotations. All I will say is Jack Sparrow got what was coming to him, so be careful out there. Mr. Gerald Mark, back in here. Thank you so much for being here, Gerald. He says, with a $2 super chat, he says, shout out to the Gaming Circle podcast. Shout out to you, good sir. I hope you heard we gave you a call out, a shout out just a little bit ago. You've been asking for emojis for a while. It's happening, sir. It's happening. So hopefully you can give us more feedback, what you think we should be adding into the mix. We're going to be doing different segments, different overlays, things like that. But all right.
Yeah, and just there's a little conversation just because we're talking about emulation in the chat. It's super interesting. So Patran and Dorian Gray, they're talking about the two mainstream Switch
emulators.
emulators. Those
Yep.
are Yuzu and Ryu Jinx. And they, one thing that they pointed out was that Ryu Jinx usually works first, but it kind of has a lot of jank.
Yep.
And Yuzu usually tends to be more polished with these.
Exactly.
At emulating these games. So just keep that in mind when you're
and
trying to figure
and
all
for
this out.
for those who think we're speaking a bit of Greek here and all of that, you know, I have been saying it with my mouth for a while now, and it's time to start putting it into some action. I'm going to start showing a lot of folks. I'm going to start doing some videos. I'm going to start doing some tutorials. I'm going to start doing some stuff for just general handheld, as that has now become an environment where there is a lot of moving and shaking in this space, right? Getting people into dipping their toe into PC gaming a little bit through the handheld. So, you know, if you guys have any recommendations, stuff you want to see, tutorials you want to see, how do I emulate? How do I do this? How do I do that? You know, send me some messages.
Just
I'll
be
put some
careful
videos
with
together.
that, and don't make any references to where to find the ROMs, because the ROMs are illegal.
Of course.
Emulation is not.
Yes, of course. And I will also do tutorials on how to make your own ROMs, because that is legal. You can make your own ROMs. You can dump your own files, put it on your own machine, and then use them. You know, if you want to go the Jack Sparrow route, that's for you. But you know, we don't advocate for that, and we will not be there with you when they come and they yoke you up. You know what I'm saying?
Aaron
Slow-mo.
says, "Damn, this Redfall footage looks great."
Looks great. Yeah, there you go.
That's
There you go.
because he's playing Redfall better than he played Jedi Survivor.
Everborn
But-
Saga's mic will get cut off soon if he doesn't quit. Slow-mo
But-
backslapping here with a $2 super chat saying, "Not my retinas," meaning it doesn't look good on to his eyes. Anyway, continue. Yes.
But to be fair, the AI in this is dumb as rock, so it does make you look good. So maybe that's
you
the
know
difference
what?
between this and Jedi
You know
Survivor.
what? Mr. Everborn Saga's talking a lot of smack, but he usually is the one that comes out as the bot master. He is now coming out with a bunch of smack talk. You're gonna lead down a path where we're gonna take a bet,
I'm
and we're gonna,
very good.
We're not gonna do
against
this.
The AI.
We're not gonna do this,
don't play
man.
People.
We're
But
not
anyway,
gonna do this.
Tears of the Kingdom. So
continue.
another thing that I want to talk about are what they've done with this. I think the new super hand ability, and
Yes.
it's not just that, like the building functionality is crazy, and I can only imagine what this will do for like kids and how they'll put things together. I've already seen people putting together like amazing things. Like it's almost like not like Minecraft, but this idea of your imagination sort of can build anything, right? Like, so you have a core and you can get wheels, or you can get the fan.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to derail you. Slow-mo in here saying people who suck at games love bad AI. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Continue. I was just like,
Well,
why would you?
That's why
Anyway.
Mr. K. Asante's gameplay looks so good. He's about to go into
Suck it
Jedi
up there,
Survivor.
Botmaster.
Let's see how it looks.
Suck it up,
All right.
Botmaster.
So-
Yes, continue.
So, I what I was saying was, when you start to look at the things that you can build, it kind of takes that open world simulation aspect really to another level, especially with, you know, taking into account wind and putting together different elements. And, you know, I really think that this game is going to have legs be well beyond even the first one with the things that people build and whatnot. Like, they had, and I don't know how, like, even see, if you're early in the game, you know, okay, you have the building aspect, but there's this other thing of augmenting your weapons. So you can, like, if you want to knock down a wall, you can add a boulder to your sword, right? And use that to give your sword more power, or you can, you know what I mean, attach anything you want to the arrows, or you can augment your shield again by putting like some sort of like, I've only tried boulders on the shield so far, but that'll make your blocking way stronger than without it. So like, it's just where you think the imagination can go. You really have this sense of wonder. And I know people talk about the graphics or whatever, but there really is something like calming about you stand out in like the field of time or whatever it's called, and just watch the wind blow through the trees and the grass.
So
And
about that.
excuse me.
Yes, let me give you a moment to breathe a little bit and ask you a question about that. About the spending time sitting there watching the wind blow. When you were sitting there watching this as the game starts, and you know, similar to how Breath of the Wild starts, where you're in a cave, you open to the vistas, you see it, you know. In this one, you fall, and that's where you get your splash screen and all of that. Didn't those initial moments make you wish that the developers that work for Nintendo actually worked for a platform that supports better hardware? I'll tell you honestly, that's the first thing I thought of when I started seeing that, because like we always say this. Let me
My answer to your question is no, but
let me get my
continue.
point out. Let me get my point out. The reason why I'm saying this is because usually, right, it's this idea that they're geniuses and they're so good at what they do, but they have to be handicapped in some way. And on this, with respect to the Switch, that's their handicap, the Switch itself. Although, like we're describing here, there's so many genius ideas on display, right? So many genius ideas on display. I really wish those geniuses would be unshackled by that hardware, because, like, all jokes aside, all ridiculous, sniping aside, these guys have gaming ideas that are second to none. How they took the ideas that were in Breath of the Wild. You saw people using the systems they had already created and are making makeshift like vehicles and boats and doing all these really interesting things inside the game that maybe wasn't initially the thought process of hey, we're putting this in the world, but then ultimately it looks like they took all those designs, those ideas, and then went, you know what? This is what people enjoy. This is what people seem to be doing with it. So let's double down on those ideas and let's really take it there. And it looks like they really, really honed in and made this game a sandbox in that almost Halo kind of way. Do you disagree?
So so to answer your original question, and then I'll come back to the point you made, the follow-up point. I was not thinking I wish this was on better hardware.
Okay.
I was so sort of immersed by the orchestral opening and the clouds and the feeling of kind of soaring down towards the ground. You almost feel like you're flying, and I feel like that experience did so much that the last thing on my mind was the technical aspect of this.
Sure. Let me be clear though. Let me be clear about the reason why my brain went there is because I've played that opening on the Switch. I've played it on the Steam Deck. I've played it on the 3080. I've played it on a 4090, like testing it, right, to see where the best frame rate is. So I keep seeing that opening credit over and over and over again. And at some point I was just like, wow, these guys are just so good at taking what can be considered technical scraps and making a feast out of it. I wish they had a feast in the beginning.
so here's the problem. And Tim Per 21 makes a great point that I was about to explain differently. Okay. But I think I'm going to say the same thing that he said, which is creativity within restricted environments drives innovation.
Yes, that's true.
What that says to me is, if this were on the PlayStation, Xbox, or PC hardware, and that was the target, what the focus tends to be is more the technical side of things, right? And it's the constraints where creativity comes in. And so I can just, if we look at films, right, I can give you two movies with a very similar sort of storytelling device and see what they did based on the budget. And that would be Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness versus Everything Everywhere All at Once. And we saw what happened with the unlimited budget and all the technical whatever versus the constrained budget, and how creativity had to take the place of shock and awe. Right? And so,
although that tends to be how things go, are you then saying that's always how it goes, and as such, 1 + 1 always equals 2 in that way?
No, I'm saying that's the case here.
Okay.
And I'm saying that whether I do believe, though, if this were running on a PlayStation, the focus would be more around the technical side of things than the gameplay. And because they can't wow you with shock and awe, by necessity, they must wow you
with gameplay,
with the gameplay and all the innovative mechanics.
So you think
that's just what we see over and over again.
So you think that by the very nature of them not having the technical prowess of hardware to wow you, it then forces them to do so with gameplay mechanics and creative ideas. And if they did have the technical prowess, if they did have that technical hardware, maybe then they would de-emphasize the gameplay and all that time they spend on creativity.
I mean, we have countless examples of this, right? So look at all the amazing PlayStation games, and they a lot of them tend to be amazing. But when we say they're amazing because they're telling you a story. The gameplay is great, but how many times is the gameplay innovative? What the innovation is how they're able to seamlessly tell these stories. And I'm not saying they're not great games gameplay wise, but why people remember those are the story and the technical prowess of those games. It doesn't tend to be the gameplay. And that may sound like
it could
funny,
also be,
but like, would you compare, just 1 second, would you compare gameplay for gameplay? Would you compare Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden West to Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom?
I'm the wrong person to speak to about that, because when Breath of the Wild versus Horizon came out, I chose Horizon, and I still stand behind the choice I made.
That's because you are a technology whore, and you were just
no, I'm not. No. Remember, people have called it gaming NyQuil forever, and I will contend with that. That's fine. But I think from a gameplay perspective, Horizon is very fun and has a lot of systems and keeps you engaged for a long time while playing it, right? So I hear you, and I hear the point you're making, but for me specifically, I really do enjoy that moment-to-moment that Breath of the Wild provides. Continue.
Sure. but my point is, I really think, and this is not in any way trying to like come at the great things that PlayStation has done.
So see, Erodimus is asking a better question here. He's saying, what's better in gameplay, God of War Ragnarok or Hi-Fi Rush? See, that's a different conversation.
That's a dangerous question.
That's right. That's a different conversation.
But, and no, I'm not going to answer it, because then everything that I say is going to be painted after that.
Right.
The fact that I don't want to answer it, I think you're going to know what I'm going to say.
There you go.
But the whole point is, and I'm not saying like, okay, I'm not looking forward to look at this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, OneBadMutha. What's going on over here?
What's going on, guys? Sorry, I'm up a little late, a little groggy. I was up staying up between Jedi and Zelda last night. So
it's all good, man. Good to have you here.
I'm not even sure what I'm rolling into, but let's see what happens.
No,
we're just talking about how much we love Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild. See,
one of us is talking about that. The other one is talking about shaming it technically.
My DLC Freudian slip was just going there. We're not talking technical shaming at all, ladies and gentlemen. Not at all, because I think we can agree that it's a triumph in many respects. On the screen right now, I have some of the roundup of reviews, and many are calling it the greatest game ever made.
Oh,
well, wait a minute.
Have either one of you guys? Have either of you got far enough where you see that part of it yet?
No, I haven't seen that part of it personally.
This is on par with Breath of the Wild right now, but I don't know. like I wouldn't say so far because I'm very, very early. I just got the second power, so I'm still I'm on my way to the third shrine.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
right where you
So
are.
actually,
Yeah,
we're all in the same spot. Actually,
right. So yeah, because I'm going up that mountain now, and I still can't. Anyway, but it is not. It's not. First of all, I don't think Elden Ring is the greatest game of all time, but I do think it's the greatest game this generation so far.
Okay.
And it has not surpassed Elden Ring for me yet. But again, this is, 150 hours later in Elden Ring versus, 2-3 hours in this. So talk to me when I got 100 hours in Zelda, and I can make that real comparison. But I think it's early
while we're talking really
to say
quick,
that.
I'm scrolling every 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 20 out of 20, 100 out of 100 review score ever. Like every single one is having you claim that this is the pinnacle of gaming experiences. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm not saying that. I am not saying that. I'm just saying it is a very interesting stat that every single reputable, and sometimes reputable with an asterisk, right, outlet is having you believe this thing is the tip of the spear, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100, the greatest thing ever made. I'm sorry, everyone.
So I will say the actual greatest game ever made
Tetris
happens to be a Zelda game.
No, it's
but
Tetris.
it is linked to the past.
It is Tetris, but continue.
It's
the right answer
Zelda
is
linked
Tetris.
to the past, but that's neither here nor there.
The right answer is, and always will be Tetris, but continue. Go ahead.
And A. Rodimus says Elden Ring gameplay is some of the best. I would agree. I agree. It is some of the best.
Yeah.
And it does something to you psychologically. Elden Ring. It is one of the most memorable experience in gaming that I've ever had. So I agree, Erasmus. That's why I'm saying, like, a lot of the time, and we do this all the time, right? There's this certain recency bias where we say this new thing is the greatest thing ever, right? It's like when you get people comparing Taylor Swift to Michael Jackson. I'm like, slow down.
Oh God.
you weren't there when everybody
Exactly.
was practicing moonwalks.
You are hitting
and
below the belt
plugs
right now,
to
there,
the-
everyone. That's
the
below the
school.
belt.
People going to see Michael Jackson. He's just walking past and they're just falling out dead, never to return. These people don't know that.
They don't know what
people
it, they
understand.
don't know what it was like to live through that era, man.
People don't remember. People don't remember the people who went and plastic surgery themselves to look like the man. Y'all weren't there. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
That is a little beyond the pale. But see, to your point, Everborn, just like people have that recency bias, it's the same kind of thing where you can also say people having a problem. So, some people, I don't know which people we're talking about here, but some people always starting out with, I hate this game. This game is going to be trash. An hour later, game of the year. It happens. This is human nature. I'm just saying.
Listen, it could happen. But I didn't start out hating this one. From the moment this began, I was like, they're on it. By the way, we have 2 super chats.
We actually have 3
Buck
super
and one
chats.
from Doc,
We have 3 super chats.
Mr. Joe in the Dark.
So let me catch up on those super chats. We have Doovy in here with a $2 super chat. He says, "What y'all think about that the Gfinity's review? I know they really gave it a glowing review, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't watched it yet though, but I did hear that, much like all the other reviews.
Were they the ones that gave it the glowing review, or are they the ones that gave it 6 out of 10?
Was it? I may need to double check. Do that for me while I read the next one. I want to make sure I get that right. Were they the outlier? Yeah. I thought they weren't the outlier. Anyway, so Mr. Joanna Dark also in here with a $2 super chat. Once again, thank you, Mr. Joanna Dark. He says, "How to trigger a fan base? Sonic sucks." That's literally all he said here. Thank you, Mr. Joanna Dark. Keep the boot to the neck, man. Keep the boot on the neck. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you continuing to hold on strong.
Boots are coming soon when we get to the ROG Ally section, or ROG
And then
Ally,
Buck
or
in here with a $2 super chat saying, "Thoughts on the expected EC decision?" I was hoping we could leave that off the talking points this week because we tend to go back and forth on that.
Let's do it quick so that we don't have to do it at a quick end block. We'll talk
why don't you tell me, give me your thoughts on it right now. Go ahead, give me your thoughts on the EC's decision and all the latest crumbs that they're dropping for us to slop up and talk for another week about. What do you think, sir?
Okay, so a new report came out from Reuters that says the EC, which is the European Commission, which is the competition authority in the European Union, which, as a result of Brexit, the UK has separated from, and therefore everyone has to deal with the CMA. Not saying the CMA didn't exist before, but like they've become more outspoken and sort of powerful now that they are apart from the EU. And so Brussels, this is where Brad Smith held the contract up and did the whole press conference. I have the contract right here for Sony to sign, and everybody started crying about it. It's also where Jim Ryan said, "I don't want a new deal. I want to block your deal." That's where all the stuff came from. And at the beginning of this whole thing, we all thought that they were going to be the most difficult hurdle, but as we've been hearing, they have seemed very amenable. You have Vestager, who is the head of the EC right now, saying things like, we could look at the same evidence and come to different conclusions. She said that about a month or two ago. She's also said that we will not allow regulatory capture. So there are different parties that have different agendas. We're going to decide things based on the facts. She's also said that in the EU, it's not like America. They like shooters. We like FIFA. So a lot of the things that they have said publicly, and there's also interviews with people on Italian YouTube channels where people have come where they've specifically said, if people give us what we want, we pass the deal, right? These are things that are said. And now Reuters, who is not the New York Post, because last time the New York Post said and the New York Times said that the CMA is getting ready to pass the deal, and we all know how that happened, and now everyone is hugging their pillows,
but you and I both know, that
their bobos.
Whether they are the New York Post or they're not, just because you believe in them does not mean it'll make it come true or not. So believe what you want; it'll still kind of either happen or won't happen.
I'm getting to that. I'm just saying that Reuters has kind of stayed silent on things until they were sure. And I'm not saying that means anything, because the EC can pass it and they can
do whatever they want.
Still not work things out with the CMA or the FTC. Doesn't matter. So, and now the Bloomberg terminal is saying that it is telling the people who use that service that it is also expected to be passed as early as the 15th. Doesn't mean it will be on the 15th, but it could be as early as this Monday. So that's how we got here. Now the question is, what does that mean? Well, Microsoft and Activision, they've hired some very high-profile lawyers in the UK. One that represented Boris Johnson, that's the one Activision hired, and Microsoft hired a lawyer that has represented in the past the Queen of England, who is no longer with us. And so they've hired very high-profile lawyers for the appeals, but they haven't as of yet filed it. And they have until the 28th or something to do so, or the 26th to do so. But again, they haven't filed it, and I think that they are waiting for this EC decision, because if the EU blocks, there's no point in going forward, because then they'd be fighting on three fronts. OBM disagrees a little bit, but I'm gonna say this, and then you come in.
Yes, I'm letting you all get it out. So go ahead. Yes, get it out.
So they're waiting for this. So if it does go through, that is when things become a little bit more interesting. And TSWS Gaming in the chat said, if the glove don't fit, you must have quit. So that being said, if that happens, I think that is when they go full bore on the appeal process in the UK, and they are going to appeal to CAT. And I know there are some things that the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, said about steering a statement to steer the CMA. I don't know how much that helps. It is interesting that he made that statement on LinkedIn. But again, as politicians do, you want to leave all your options open.
Made it on the platform of Microsoft. Interesting. Okay, yes. Continue. Yes.
So you could be doing that, and then the CMA is still going to do what they do anyway. But you at least look like you tried. And if you notice, as a sign of good faith, Microsoft has also invested in a new AI startup in the UK. This is after investing $1 billion in the London Stock Exchange while this was all going on. So the question is, will they appeal? And if they appeal, will Activision and Microsoft extend past July 18th? Because it will almost certainly will go past that. We don't know if they will. And again, just because they haven't signaled that yet, you still want to leave your options open, because again, there will have to be a second negotiation that takes place if they have to extend. So you don't, if you're Bobby K and Activision, you don't want to just bend over and say, yes, we're definitely going to extend the deal. You play coy so you can make sure Microsoft doesn't change the terms, or you can get a better thing to extend it. So, maybe that $3 billion goes up to 3.5 if it doesn't go through in the extended term. Who knows? So there's that part of it. But even if this is approved, if you're in favor of this deal, you're not out of the woods yet. And if it does get approved, I think that emboldens Microsoft and Activision to continue forward, and that means this thing will probably be going on for at least another year.
Okay, so hold on. So
this time, 2024, and you
I
have
will
to ask yourself, can you handle another year of this?
I will let OBM.
You could have just bought Sega and somebody else, right?
I will let OBM.
In that time, you could have got 3 publishers.
I will let OBM give me his bars as well. But before I do, I will first and foremost say, Scott McClawhorn in here with "Hold the Line." Thank you, Scott, for being here. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. We have John Wolf in here. Thank you, my good brother. He says, "Good morning, GCP. Sending well wishes to Kay and the fam. Thank you so much. I owe you a call, Mr. John Wolf. He and I have been working on a few things in the background." And we have Enigmatic Dreams in here with a $5 super chat saying, "Just showing support, guys. I look forward to your show every week. The dynamic between you two is so unique. Thank you, sir. Also, ABK deal will go through. EU hates the UK."
Well, I'll give him that. They never miss an opportunity to take a dig at the UK, like every time. But go ahead.
Mr. OBM, you get the chance to rebut or give me your bars in general. And then we'll re-rail the show back on its course, because we have definitely taken an ABK detour as we're looking at Tears of the Kingdom on the screen. Go ahead, OBM.
I'll try not to take too long on this. And actually, I actually agree with most of what Everborn said. I think the one thing I've got out of the business of is no longer making predictions on what will happen with this damn deal, because it is unprecedented. Like,
you can't predict crazy. That's why
it's unprecedented. We talked about that last time, right? Like, it's unprecedented on so many different levels that you really are just kind of watching new history unfold when it comes to regulation. But I will say the one thing I disagree with Everborn on is the idea that if the EU finds against them, it's dead. I think that it's always been about the CMA, and it's always going to continue to be about the CMA. And I think no matter what the EU does next week, the only thing that will change is it might speed up some pressure on them. But I still think at the end of the day, everything seems to indicate that every obstacle feels like it's a very realistic obstacle. There's a lot of obstacles Microsoft's got to overcome and ABK has to overcome to make the deal work, but they're all realistic. So there's a lot of them. There's a big checklist. This is like playing a really big map game, but the final boss will continue to be the CMA, and they are probably the most. It's cloudy in terms of what the options are there. But EU has an appeals process. It takes a long time. So like you were saying, you could be talking about next year again, a year from now. We know the U.S. has an appeals process, and most likely it would favor the Activision ABK merger. So like, and it also looks like they probably would end up extending. You know, I know there's been some investors that have been saying, well, we don't even know if ABK would want to. They might just want to take their $3 billion and walk. But actually, there's been a lot of signs that they probably would renegotiate, probably with another, you know, adding more to those billions.
Because if you look at the situation on the ground today, it is more advantageous for ABK to take the deal today than it was when this whole thing started, because back then they were actually worth that much, and now they're definitely not. So it is in their best interest to want to keep that money versus Microsoft walking away and just giving them $2 or $3 billion, right? Still, at the end of the day, if I'm not wrong, the stipend money they get is still not as valuable as selling it to Microsoft for its value that you negotiated a year ago, because it's not worth that much right now.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, Kay Asante, although some people might probably link you to some analysts that actually think ABK is undervalued right now and actually would probably go up over that value pretty quickly. Okay. But if you heard, Bobby Kotick's a difficult person to read because, you know, he's kind of an ass, and usually half the time he's lying, if not more than half. But you know, like, but he did say something, and I do think
every time I see him speak, I'm sorry, I see him sitting there and speak. It reminds me of Jabba the Hutt. I don't know why. The way he talks, just the whole thing. He gives me Jabba the Hutt vibes.
I hate quoting him. I do hate quoting him, but he did say something that was logical, because he was talking to the analyst, and he says, hey, 98% of our investors approve this deal. And yes, and he even acknowledged the fact that, yes, we do believe that we are very confident in where we are. And we do think that if this didn't go through, that our value would actually go up higher and all this other stuff. But then he goes,
all the things he's supposed to say.
Yeah. Well, all the stuff he's supposed to say. But then he goes, and he started talking about the future. And I think what he indicates is that ABK is might be able to be in a strong position short term, but long term, with the way the industry is changing, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And I think, and they also like the idea. There's a lot of technology Microsoft has that they do not, and they think that some of that is things that they'll need. So. At the end of the day, I do think they will extend.
So let me just add something onto your point. OBM.
You can close this out, Everborn, because I'm done talking about it.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, we can move back on to Zelda.
They've had like these record 2 quarters in a row, but I think we have to understand what the reason they were acquired or got into this position to be acquired in the first place, because they had a lot of problems with legal problems, which seems to have sorted themselves out, but also talent retention problems. And they put out a dud that year in Call of Duty with Vanguard, and we see what one dud can do to their bottom line.
Yep.
And so if you're dealing with a hit-driven business, one dud could mess you up to the point where you're weakened enough to be acquired is wild. And Diablo and Overwatch were delayed to this year. And if you really think about it, you're not going to have a year like we've had these last 2 quarters with them for a very long time. Diablo comes out once a decade. Overwatch 3 is not coming out anytime soon if we look at when Overwatch 1 came out. So, and the next COD is probably going to be like a half effort compared to this Modern Warfare thing, or we'll see. So we could be in a situation by the end of this year where they're not meeting analysts and the Wall Street's expectations in terms of revenue that they bring in, because the only thing coming this year is another COD, which is kind of like an extension of this one. So, because remember, there was all those rumors that there wasn't going to be a COD this year, and now they say yes, there will be a full experience, but we're all thinking it's like an extension of what they have right now. So the thing is, they may be in a rough position 6 months from now, and so that's probably a thing that they have to consider, because it all looks rosy now, but like that's only if you can see right in front of your face. If you can see a few months or a few years out, then it does become unsure for them. So we'll see what they do. I think the what you'd think the best path would be, hey, we're taking a little bit more risk. The other thing to consider is they cannot use the money they have in the bank until this thing is sorted out. And it's in bonds, and they're gaining 5.25% on it. They could be gaining 5 or 6% now, just because interest rates are so high, like the Fed rate is so high. But other than that, they can kind of do whatever they want. So, and Bobby talked about this. If the deal doesn't go through and they take the $3 billion based on what they're bringing in terms of profit this year, and based on the money that is sitting in the bank earning 5%, they'll have $18 billion in the bank. I think they have $13 billion now. So they'll be in a good-ish position. But again, we don't know when the next Diablo is coming out, and Diablo's going to sell gangbusters, and Overwatch is printing money. Remember, they just had to pull out of China with WoW and all these other things, all the Blizzard stuff. So we will see how things go when you don't have these new big releases to back you up. That's it. That's all I was going to say.
Thank you, Buck, for your $2 super chat, which then completely led to our ABK block. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. And to then bring us back to the realm of where we are, of where we want to be, I have Mr. Joanna Dark with a $5 super chat. And Joanna, I'm coming for you, sir. He says, K Asante, please include your Steam Deck with your knees. ROG equals rip deck, LOL. Knew you would cave when that price point was announced, LOL. Yes. We will get there, sir. We will get there, sir.
It didn't even matter the price point. It's when the pre-orders went live. Anyway,
we will get there, sir. But I will preemptive this line of questioning by saying, first and foremost, until the Everborn Saga gives up them knees on Sonic, all this is fair game. Let us continue.
I give up nothing.
Exactly. So if he's giving up nothing, neither do I. Anyway.
All right. Knees for knees.
Here we go. Okay. But let us button up this Tears of the Kingdom talk, because there's a lot of talk around Tears of the Kingdom. And yes, to go back to the Gfinity review that people were asking about. Yes, there was an outlier, and I have since looked into it. And yes, Gfinity was the outlier, 6 out of 10. And I kind of agree with them in a small place. I don't think it's worth the 6 out of 10. I still think it's way better than they give it credit for. But their long and short of it was basically saying, oh, by the way, if you haven't jumped into the iteration of Zelda that is Breath of the Wild, your best bet is Tears of the Kingdom, if you've never done it. But if you have played the heck out of Breath of the Wild, this is so much more of the same that the new story might not bypass your interest, and
but that's
it
not
might make
true.
you lose interest in it. That's their claim.
But they're lying, and we're
sure.
talking about them now.
I mean, they played 40 hours. They played 40 hours of it. We've only played maybe 5, if not more.
So
maybe they're being earnest. Who knows?
Here's the thing, people.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing, people. That building mechanic changes the game.
Does. Yeah, it does.
Right? It's a completely different game when you factor in the things that you can build and what you can do. And again, you may have the same main map, but guess what? You didn't have any of this sky stuff. Right? You had none of that before. And apparently what I'm hearing is there's also an underworld. So you have an overworld, the map from the original,
right?
And then an underworld.
He just loves spilling the tea on anything he can. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. The game just came out for some. Calm down.
This is K Asante back in the day. That was a really interesting twist when Darth Vader was his father.
Right? It's just an interesting twist when they just
all I'm saying this headline is true.
We are graybeards.
The Kingdom makes you feel like a creative genius. That is the point.
We are graybeards, so it's like
Soylent
Green is people. Like, oh my God, nobody knew that spoiler. What are we gonna do? Come on now. The game just came out a day ago. Calm down. Anyway, but okay. Yes.
So the point is, I was in a dark cave, and it's like I had to get like, okay, let me attach something that lights up to the arrow so I can shoot it at the ceiling and now light up this completely dark cave. This is where you get the zonites and things like that. So there's so much. So Petran says the building mechanics are lifted straight from Banjo Nuts and Bolts. And nobody said Nuts and Bolts makes you feel like a creative genius.
Yep. And
well,
Nuts and Bolts,
maybe they should put out a new. Maybe they should put out a new Banjo
in 2008. Say the whole thing. If you're gonna read his comment, read the whole comment.
Maybe they should put out a new Banjo.
And Nuts and Bolts was released in 2008. Now, let me be clear here. I am not on the side that this game is bad or that it's getting bad reviews or the reviews aren't accurate. I think, like, you heard what I said when I first experienced it. I believe that the skill set on display here almost makes you wish that they had better hardware to work with, because they are definitely creative geniuses.
Wait a minute. I need to stop you right there. Enigmatic Dreams.
Enigmatic
Dreams drops a $5 super chat.
I'll get to that.
Please read that man's super chat.
Oh,
the man paid good money. Please read his super chat. He has graced this show by investing in it. Please show that man Enigmatic Dreams the respect that he deserves.
Before I read Enigmatic Dreams super chat, which I appreciate and I humbly thank him for his super chat.
You are a gentleman and a scholar.
I will read Buck's super chat because his was first, and that's a $5 super chat.
Probably King David's soccer account.
Yes. $5 super chat, and he says, if the EC approves, no way this is going to next year. 877 million total ABK annual revenue from UK. Microsoft could pull ABK from UK and not hit a $3 billion breakup fee for 3 years. We appreciate the insight. I'm not going to let my panelists respond because we're not having an ABK show today, ladies and gentlemen.
No, we're not. Half hour.
No, we're not. But Enigmatic Dream with a $5 super chat.
Thank you.
Saying,
I need you to read this specifically.
Hush. Saying, friendly reminder that Ragnarok not only sold more than Sonic because it was bundled, and respect to Everborn for true Sega. That's holy. That's how I am for Resident Evil. No, I understand that, but if we're going to talk about the context in the room for it was bundled in, we can also talk about the fact that Sonic started as a $60 game and was quickly dropped to $30 because ain't nobody gonna pay that crap for that type of game. So both platforms did what they did in order to move units. One bundled it in, the other one dashed the price immediately, and still at the end of the day, Ragnarok was king.
Number one
Mr. Joanna Dark
Sonic game. That's all I want to say.
You can be the number one Honda Civic driver that has good wheels.
Because of this ABK deal, they didn't have a console to bundle it with. So you trying to cook the books. You trying to cook the books for Ragnarok, but it's okay.
You can be the number one Civic driver with a rocket engine, but you still won't be the Tesla. That's neither here nor there. Mr. Joanna Dark with a $5 super chat saying, if Sonic was giving away with a Tesla, nobody would take it. Everborn Saga, give up them knees and make sure you lotion them. Thank you, Mr. Joanna Dark, for putting the boot back on the proper neck, ladies and gentlemen.
Not before I get these ROG Ally knees, but we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But okay.
But the last thing about this, real quick, I think this headline is super important because it talks to the experience of the game.
Sure.
Making you.
It makes you feel like a creative genius when you discover something.
Story. Mm-hmm. It's not a creative genius is a strong term, but when you build something or you figure out a problem without being prompted, like in certain games they tell you how to solve the puzzles.
Yeah, eventually
you just figure this out and you build something, you really feel like you accomplished something. You actually feel like you're going on an adventure, and I think that's important, and I think that is what gaming is all about.
Mr. John Slanderous Wolf in here saying the ROG Ally talk. Move on from this glorified DLC game. Rolling eyes.
Stop
Wow.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
so I just one thing about this whole DLC talk, right?
I'm going to disagree that this DLC talk.
The problem with this, and this all started because of Miles Morales, which was actually a DLC that got bundled by itself. And so because that argument played out, it evolved into explaining why this 3-4 hour campaign using the same assets but with new character animations.
So
was
here's
not
my
a
question to
DLC
you, Everborn.
just because they packaged it by itself. Hold on, let me just say this, and then ask me the question.
Sure.
So we got into that because of Miles Morales, which was actually a DLC that they separated.
No, it's not. This
so
is
that
my
they could
point.
have a
It was
launch
not
title.
because of
Okay,
Miles Morales.
okay,
It wasn't. But continue.
Okay, hold on a minute. So we used to understand that a full sequel to a game, if it's in the same generation, it would use a lot of the same assets and update, just like, guess what? Jedi Survivor uses a lot of the same animations. It adds new things to it, and we know that it's a full game. So because of what happened with Miles Morales, now we have to have this conversation about God of War, and now we're having it about Zelda, and we have to have it about all these things. But really, a sequel is a sequel if it is a full game. If it doesn't matter if it's using the same engine or it has some assets from the previous game, unless it's a complete new rebuild next generation thing, then you'll change those things. But just because it's using the same engine and some of the same assets does not mean it's not a sequel.
Yeah, most sequels these days reuse the engine, the assets, the animations. They reuse a lot, and that's usually one of the back in the old days. I mean, when I say old days, like 360, original Xbox, and PlayStation 2, all your sequels are like that, and they used to just kind of they move around things and maybe add a few new colors, and suddenly you had a sequel. I don't think that makes
my only problem with this whole conversation is the framing of the conversation itself. DLC as a substance, as a thing that has become part of gaming parlance, is not a pejorative. It never was. One of the greatest DLC known to man is Blood and Wine, which is the DLC to The Witcher 3, which by itself is better in every way than the base game, right? I understand people want to explain why it is and why it's not. That's like you going through the course of explaining it then continues to keep the idea of DLC a pejorative when it's not. It can be DLC and still be great. I don't know why we must. No, it's not DLC because it's new and different.
No, it's not. If that's the way you want to explain it, if that is the way you want to explain it, if a product is packaged on its own, by definition, it's not DLC.
Sure.
End of story.
But see, to me, it's not even.
So then you
whether
shouldn't call Tears of the Kingdom a DLC, or you shouldn't call Ragnarok a DLC because it's packaged by itself. If that's what you're going for.
Look. I don't care whether it's DLC or not. I want to judge the item as its own thing because it's being sold as its own.
Don't call it DLC.
Right?
Yeah,
we're not talking about
I will
that.
say
I wasn't the one that called it DLC, but for the record, it was Mr. John Wolf that called it DLC. But that's
you've called it DLC in the past, but Mr. OBM, please continue.
Go ahead, OBM.
No, I will say, kind of, and this is, I guess, slightly going against what I just said, but I absolutely do not think it's a DLC. But I will say that when you do feel a lot of familiarities within the game, it does take away a bit of the wow or off,
the newness. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it definitely.
I just don't like the.
Yeah. Oh no, I was gonna say so. Full transparency, I'm not a Nintendo guy anymore.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up on the NES, and I have a Switch, and I'll throw something in it, every year, and it doesn't stick with me the way it used to. But Breath of the Wild, I tried it 3 times, and for some reason, it just never fully got it. I guess.
You're a heathen. You're a heathen.
Yeah, I admit. But so here's interesting the thing here. I will agree. Like when you talk about Elden Ring, I think Elden Ring definitely clicked almost right off the bat. You know, as soon as I got out into the open world, it just felt like, as somebody who was a Dark Souls fan already, it just felt like a really significant evolution, something that I couldn't put down. Zelda actually took a little bit longer, so I was playing it. I'm in the same spot you guys are yesterday, except that I think again I put it down after like the first, I don't know, hour or so, because the combat doesn't feel like amazing. It's okay, that kind of thing. But I think it did finally click, and I do get, I think I can see where this could go. Way too early to make any sort of assessments to give it a rating or anything like that.
Sure.
But it does feel like it's it's almost like an exploration platformer, but more than anything, it feels like a puzzle game, like a sandbox puzzle game, and in a way that I think makes it very unique, because
far more sandbox than ever
play,
before.
Yeah. Usually when you play a puzzle game, there's usually like a way to solve the puzzle, right? And I think they throw in all this stuff, and I'll mention a scenario, and it probably isn't some like revolutionary. Wow, Abe was really smart figuring this out. But I made a little boat, and I kept throwing it in the water, and it kept sailing away before I could jump on the damn thing.
Happened to me twice.
I think you guys. Yeah, it's so frustrating. And then you're just like, well, where do I go now? Because you can't swim all the way across.
You got to angle it right. You got to angle the
I
boat
said,
properly.
I said, F that, man. So I just grabbed a couple logs, and I threw one down in the water. I jumped on it. Then I turned around, grabbed the other one, moved it over, jumped on it.
So you were on the log while you build it. Yes.
If you really want to try something fun, right? That boat that's moving off of wind, make it, flip it upside down before you drop it in the water, and then it'll be like a motorboat.
Yeah.
And then you can add the attachments to it that blows wind when you hit it. There's just so much extra that you can go. You know.
Just think. Yeah, and you just think, oh wow, I figured this out. I'm so freaking brilliant. But there's a lot of different ways across there, right? And so not everybody's going to find the exact same way. And I think that might be the brilliance of it. I haven't got far enough to say like what all the abilities and everything, and does it ever kind of lose? Like, does it just become now autopilot at some point in time, like a lot of games do? So I can't really speak to that, but I do get it, and I think some of the game design is pretty. It seems like it's pretty brilliant in like that regard.
Yep. They spent a lot of time
talking.
It looks like they spent a lot of time honing like what people will do and how will they solve this problem.
Yes.
Let's give them the guidelines to really hone in on exactly how to interface with it without telling them how to do it. Right? Like, let them feel like they solved the problem without actually telling them how to solve the problem. Very interesting. Go ahead, Everborn.
No. There's something that I want to address from the chat. I can't remember who said it, but they said that, and just remind me because I want to give them credit for saying whatever they said, but I'm going to disagree with it. So apologies in advance. But they said if this was an Xbox game, it would be a 4 out of 10. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that.
I kind of disagree with that.
Because we can, if we're talking about...
While I agree with you, Everborn, I will say it would not be getting what it's getting today. Will you disagree with that?
Okay.
Exactly.
Especially with the graphics, no.
Exactly.
Yes, I would disagree with that.
So you're telling me...
I would disagree. I can tell you why.
So you're telling me, and I will let you explain, but you're telling me that if this game, exactly as it is right now, was a wholly released game out of Xbox...
That's a straw man argument, but go ahead.
I'm just asking. You think this would still be as 10 out of 10?
You're making a straw man argument.
Explain why.
And I'll explain to you why. Hi-Fi Rush does not push... oh, by the way, that was C4 skills. Just
okay.
I'm giving the person. So it's talking about using the same map and all this other stuff that it would be trash. I do not believe that at all, right? Hi-Fi Rush did not push the graphical capabilities of Xbox, and it still got amazing scores, right? If you look at Xbox's first-party games,
but you can't use Hi-Fi Rush though. because Hi-Fi Rush was not messaged as this big AAA monster, and this was
70. I think
Okay.
$70 is the big difference there.
Yes.
I think if
Okay,
it
but
came
wait a
out
big
minute.
on-
AAA
if it
monster
comes out
Sure.
versus
on PlayStation.
Shadow Drop.
Okay, but again, there is no world where an Xbox game would be 720p. That wouldn't happen. This is what it is based on what the hardware is, right? So if this was an Xbox game, it would not
get dashed
it would
because
not
it'd be
look like
720p.
No,
If
but it would. There's no. So this is the straw man thing.
No,
where
but
it's
this
like,
is what
I
I'm saying.
really have
So
to
you're
believe that we are
saying
smarter than this.
You're saying that it wouldn't be 720p because Xbox wouldn't make it 720p, but that's not what he's asking.
no.
He's saying if it
what
was
I
an
am
Xbox
saying is,
game at 720p, would
no,
people
but
still love
there's
it as
no
a game?
way it would be an Xbox game. This is a Switch, and we know it's a Switch, and people are not worried about whether it does the 4K 60 or whatever, because the Switch is
we're not
an
talking about
effing
the hardware,
Switch
though.
that was never.
The Everborn. We're not
Again,
talking about the hardware. We're not talking about the
what
performance.
people are doing. No, this is a stupid thing that Xbox and PlayStation fans are doing, both alike, and is stupid. And I will call it stupid because it's stupid, and I don't care who you are and when you're saying it. Not the person that said that, but you cannot compare a game that was designed for a mobile tablet that was 8 years old and trying to apply the same rules to what was marketed as the most powerful console.
Well, but see, that's
Right?
exactly my point.
It makes
you
no
can't
sense.
compare.
I think that's very fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but in that realm, you can't compare Hi-Fi Rush to Zelda. You just can't do that. It's the same weird
but the
argument.
reason Hi-Fi Rush comes up is because people are pretending that Xbox exclusive and first-party games have not been doing well, right? What all the crap we talk about Halo, what did Halo score?
80 something, 80
points.
What did Hi-Fi Rush
something,
score?
yeah.
What did Pentiment score? What did Flight Sim score?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. You
So
lump them all
where is this
together and
coming
make
from
this
that
high
if it
level.
was Xbox?
Stop.
No. I'm just saying.
The executives
Where
are not
does
watching.
all this come from? Where does all this come from that we are saying that Xbox, if they put out a banger, it won't get treated fairly? I think that in and of itself, because I do believe there's a media bias, but like Zelda is not the gotcha moment that people are making it out to be, and you look just as stupid as the PlayStation fans that say nonsense when you say that. So I'm just saying we have let's be credible when we have these conversations. That's all I'm saying. So
We'll get
if
back to that one,
This
I think.
game at this quality, right, and adjust for what the Xbox could handle, because as you can see, if you throw more hardware at this game, it would run at 60, because you've seen it right now via emulation. You've seen it run at 4K 60 when you put it on the beefy machine. So that would just scale up.
So I
let's
think
stop being ridiculous.
I think
Because we're being just as bad as the clowns. That's
Go
all.
ahead,
I
OBM.
think it's fair to say. Like if you think back a few years, even before like when the Switch came out, the idea that you could have something this kind of quality on a handheld is kind of a miracle of itself, right? And we talk about the limitations of the Switch, and I think so when you put it in that context, then yeah, absolutely. I do think there's a case for people that say, hey, even if this is 4K 60 running on PlayStation or Xbox and it didn't have the Zelda name, would it get that name? But at the end of the day, we can't go to that world either, because I think dealing with nostalgia, dealing with an established franchise is a challenge of its own. So I think there's some game design. There's aspects of this that I can see that are just next level in terms of allowing people to be creative, experiment. The learning process behind it. I think it's like a masterclass. It seems like it could be a masterclass in that regards. And the fact that you are creating this kind of quality experience, something that you would sit down on your big screen TV and play it on something that is a handheld that has like almost no power. I mean that, so you almost have to kind of give it that a waiting for that as well. So to that respect, I to that aspect of that, I agree. The only area, Everborn, that I was going to push back on was I wouldn't use some of these smaller games because I do think price matters for those systems as well. I think
price and messaging.
There's no reason for the game to be $70.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Yeah, well,
they're charging $70 because they can.
Yeah,
with Zelda.
When you charge $70, when we think about like the cost of game development, most of those extreme costs, when you're spending $100 million to $200 million, it's generally it is on that AAA production value stuff, and those are the games that charge $70. And so I do think that at least on PlayStation, Xbox, when people are spending $70, that is something that they're expecting to get. And I think it is kind of a fair thing to grade, to review based on. And that's why Redfall is like, if Redfall was a $40 game, probably different score. I just think as a $70 game, people have expectations, and I think that's okay. But on a Switch, this is really the thing you're getting with the Switch isn't the best visuals. It is the convenience, right? And you're sacrificing.
Let me put it another way, and I need people to understand that Redfall did not get the score it got because of the 30 FPS. It was everything else.
Of course, yeah. Because if it was just the 30 FPS,
I think that weighed in there.
Fine.
I think it actually had some. Well,
I don't know, because that didn't hurt Plague Tale. Yeah,
now,
that didn't hurt Plague Tale when it came out.
Different
game, different studios. But continue, yes.
I would push. I don't want to derail because we'll be there.
We've been derailing all day, but continue, yes.
But so, I would argue Redfall. The fact that it was a combination of, I think the 30 frames had kind of put it on its heels to begin with, and then when you started seeing texture pop in and AI glitches and everything else, that is all. I don't really have problems with people saying this is unacceptable for a AAA $70 game on day one.
Listen, all that's fine, but I just need people to understand. Had Redfall come out and the AI not been broken, and they had kill animations, and there was an actual story there, and it had all those things that it should have had, it would have, got dinged for the 30 FPS, but it would not be the whole 62 situation. It still could have scored in the 80s, despite that. But just one more thing that I will say. We all have the good sense and the gumption to say there's no way that I would expect a Series S to perform the same way a 4090 with 64 gigs of DDR5 memory. We'll say that because we'll say it's a console. It's not a beefy PC. You can't expect it to do 4K 120. We have that sense, right? Because we know that what's on the Xbox and PlayStation is a limited set for the hardware that's there. So why do we get stupid when it comes to the Switch?
I will let TSWS Gaming, Mr. Ham Solo, have the last word while we move on this, and say he says Redfall got crushed because of the set expectation was too high on all fronts, and honestly, that is why I'm 100% in agreement with him. It is the marketing and the messaging, right? Some people compare a game. Let me finish. People will compare a game like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom to a game like Hi-Fi Rush and go, what's the comparison? The difference is one was dropped as it was, pricing and marketing as it was, and the other set a lot of expectations in front of it. So it made people's hype level go up, and it made people's expectations level go up. And if you compare them in that realm, and then you give us Redfall, the vitriol is higher there because of your marketing and messaging was faulty, right? And that's where I agree with Ham Solo on it. The game as itself is the game as itself. The minute you set up that high wall of expectation of this is going to be a great AAA, explain and then it ends up not being that, there's your vitriol. There are your pitchforks. Had you let the game speak for itself, it may not have gotten such vitriol. But I don't want to spend too much more time on Zelda because we have a few more topics to discuss.
So I'm not talking about Zelda, just the Redfall thing. I don't think it is too much to expect that AI would acknowledge you. I don't think it's too much to expect for cutscenes. I don't think it's too much to expect for kill animations. I don't think those things are hyped up that you should not expect them. So if the game had the stuff it was supposed to have, regardless of how it was marketed, we would not be in this situation.
Oh yeah.
The game did not have basic things it should have had, and I don't want to say that. How dare we expect AI to work?
Real quick,
how dare we expect vampires not to be stuck behind a car?
Putting something in the Twitter DMs. We're gonna move on, but man, Tears of the Kingdom. That's all I'm gonna say. Check the Twitter DMs. Hilarious for people who want to see what I'm talking about.
I saw that.
I'm gonna quote
but
tweet
now
it
you
on my
understand this
Twitter.
headline while you feel like a creative genius.
Freaking ridiculous. Anyway, let's move forward because I want to get to the ROG Ally stuff, but I do want to catch up on a few of these things that have happened that I kind of want to get some conversation around real quickly because I wanted to stay concise this week, even though we're already in 2 hours right now. We're gonna get there. But let's move on from Tears of the Kingdom. Although I will say, expect we'll be talking a lot more about it as the weeks progress because we're probably going to keep playing it. We're probably not going to still not show you any footage of it because we know you, Nintendo. Let us move forward. But I want to talk quickly about the Summer Game Fest and their announcement, right? And usually, we have some smoke for Keighley and or the features that they bring and all the attention that they bring to the gaming industry. I will go on record and say I think he's a necessary evil for this gaming industry. He brings a lot of attention to it, and he does a lot of good stuff here as well. But there's a lot of smoke that people give them, and I think some of that is righteous. The only reason why I want to bring this up in a very small way is it looks like he may have finally threaded the needle, and we are looking at a Summer Game Fest that we don't know how it will manifest, but it looks like they have Xbox, they have Nintendo, and they have PlayStation. In addition to all various platforms represented, at least on paper, it looks like he's been able to finally thread that needle that E3 proper couldn't do back in the day. Mr. OneBadMutha, do you think
let's see how many
OBM
breaks that he takes.
OBM.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that this is the final culmination of the return of the E3 that we've been waiting for, where all of them come back together and unite into the Voltron that used to be the great E3 of past days? Or is this still more snake oil? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't. This is one of those that you'll have to believe it when you see it type of things. At this point, I'm not anti-Keighley or anything like that, but it feels like I'm trying to think about how the best way to kind of like characterize this, but it does feel like there is a lot of I don't know, smoke and mirrors a little bit when it comes to some of the stuff, and so and that's kind of what we got last time, right? And this is you can take this all the way back to all the Xbox and Redfall conversation if you want, but when you set expectations and you don't deliver on those expectations, people are going to come back without the at some point
come for you
might have it. At some point, you might have your game together, right? But because of the oversell in the past, I do think that your people are going to come in with like, okay, yeah, whatever, kind of attitude. Now, personally, I don't love the idea of a single person being in control of the whole thing, but I will take anything that does bring everybody back together, if they can actually do it right. I mean, I would be behind it, but at this point, I don't. Do we? I guess. Do you guys feel like he's going to be able to put all the rest of the pieces around this to make it?
That's the thing.
To make it feel like he's
genuinely asking the question, because on paper, and I'm looking at the paper right now, it looks like the only one missing here is Nintendo officially. Right, you have your Xbox there, you have your PlayStation there, you have many other platforms, third party and others, in addition to the main platforms themselves. Right, My question
are we
is,
gonna get the media there too?
that's the question. Like, that's the thing. I don't know if this means they're gonna drop like a trailer for something you've already seen, or if they're gonna be there in a big way and actually make this the E3 proper, right? But as far as the headline is concerned, and as far as a splash screen written screensaver or a JPEG is concerned, they got all representatives covered right here, which is, well, almost all but Nintendo, right?
What? Is Sony on there? I didn't see Sony on that.
Sony's on there. I mean, not on this big one, the big splash that you're looking at. But if you look at the list, the actual list that they've provided, PlayStation is on the list right there. PlayStation is right there.
Oh, okay.
Right, along with Xbox and Steam. Right, so he's doing his best to try and galvanize and bring back the E3 of old. But I just don't know how much of that will actually come to fruition, and I think it's interesting. Mr. Everborn Saga, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is should we have saved our money and gone through the Game Fest, or is this more snake oil and it's good that we didn't go to E3? What do you think?
Is it in person?
I think it may be somewhat in person. I know that Hargeet and a few others are still planning on going. I don't know how that will manifest in person, but we'll find out soon enough.
So I think that this has kind of been our E3 for the last like 3 years now, right? And we keep.
And every year he promises
E3
it'll be better.
Come back.
Yeah.
I think it gets better every year. But every year, you know,
it's still not the E3 of old that you remember.
Right. And so but this is the thing, like we keep pretending E3 is going to come back. This is what we have, and people are separating, and we're all going to watch this together, and we're all going to comment on it, and we're all going to make content off of it. And this is just what we get now, right? The old days are never coming back, right? And we keep trying to, the same way like Phil Spencer said, people still want to go back to the days where you're putting cartridges in machines and box sales are all that matter. We're not in that world anymore.
Mr. Hargeet Chani in here with a $2 super chat saying, Game Fest is live. I have my tickets. So there you go.
Oh, look at this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, look. So if that's the case, this is our E3 right now, and this is what we're gonna go to.
Yeah.
And you know, if you go to this, you're going to meet up, you know, with people in the community in person, because you know we are all around the country and all around the world, and that's great. But you know, the king is dead. Long live the king.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. I saw this. It gave me a little bit of glimmer of hope, but then I'm just like, you know, we shall see. We shall see what they do.
Here's what I'll say. We will watch it this year.
Yeah.
See if it's proper. Because here's the thing. This is a show, right? But is it the same as having a show floor that you can walk around and booths and all those things?
Well, we don't know that though. Since it's it being live, do you just show up? And Hargeet, maybe you can provide some more clarification if you have any more information there. Do you guys show up, sit down for the show? They give you that big splashy, you know, televised thing, and then you're done. You go home. Or are there booths? Is there a show floor? Is there more of an outside?
If there's no show floor, I don't know if I feel like it's worth going.
Right. So we want clarity on that. If you can give that to us, that might help for next year. We might make a plan to go do that then at that point, right? I just wasn't sure that was part of the equation this year. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that is going to be something missing, right? Like the industry is changing. Like nostalgia is a hell of a drug. I feel like us old heads are struggling with that. You know, it's
salute
like,
to the team gray beards. Salute to gray beards. Let's go. It's all good.
I haven't bought a physical disc since the 360 generation. Like,
wow.
You know, but at the end of the day, I do miss, you know, sometimes I'll take my son, we'll actually go visit. Mr. Forte is only 15 minutes down the road. I'll take my son up to GameStop just for the smell, just for a little bit of the nostalgia walking into
the smell of gamers.
But, you know, yeah, I had the smell of gamers. gamers, but practically you don't need it anymore, man. And I do miss like standing in the lines, and it almost felt like a party, when Halo 3 is releasing and you're standing in line with everybody, and
the party's over seemingly. Yeah.
The traditional console wars where you had an E3, it's like who won, who had the best exclusives, who blew, and now they're all going in each different directions. The industry's changing. You don't need the physical stuff, and a lot of that is kind of missing. But I do think going forward, if they don't figure out a way to kind of bring, I get it, like some of the media doesn't even want to smell gamers ever again.
It's over,
but
now.
Yeah, but that there is something about that. There is like an energy that you have. It was like a Super Bowl or Gamer Christmas.
Indeed, it was.
Whatever they. Yeah, so I don't know if it makes business sense to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But
we are sad that it's gone though. We are beside ourselves that we can no longer just go to Gamer Christmas. Although I will wait for Hargeet to report back and tell me if Game Fest 2023 ends up becoming that thing that that we all want back.
If he can pull this off, if Jeff Keighley can pull this off, more power to him. If there's somebody out there that can figure out how to wrangle up everybody into spot again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to but at this point, I'm beyond skeptical. I'm probably almost cynical that this is ever
going to happen.
Fully
no, I agree.
Take hold.
I agree.
It costs too much money, and these companies know. I mean, Jim Ryan's figured out that he can stay quiet, not say anything all year, and as soon as they put out a morsel of information, they'll have millions and millions.
They become. We won
talking about it
because they just spoke about something.
Yeah. Yeah. So why do that? Like, why even try to go back to that old race? It's like signing up for a fight that doesn't really move you up the rankings, right? That could move you down the rankings.
It's almost like Nintendo. They've all learned what Nintendo learned a long time ago, which is if you're battling and competing in the same lane, you're always setting yourself up for failure. Go do your own thing in the corner somewhere, and whether others are dissing you or not, at the end of the day, you're still end up making up more of all of your money. Nintendo has learned their lesson.
And that's another great point by Hargy. I'll let you read his thing in a second. But I do see you're not gonna need live kiosks in the future. But I'll let you kind of go to his point.
Sure, yeah. So Hargeet Chini in here with a $5 super chat. Thank you, good sir, for being here, sir. He says, last year, Game Fest also had play days where media/content creators got to see/play as well. Not sure if that is happening this year as well. So basically what he's saying is little by little, they're rebuilding that E3 feeling of old in this Game Fest format. Interesting. Okay.
But do you think, so this is the other thing about it, because there's some argument about cloud and whether what its place is and all that stuff. Don't you think that these companies, whether it's cloud or even local, can just throw out a demo for like 2 days and say, guys, here's a bunch of demos for 2 days, all of you go access.
I never understood why, especially now that they can do time-gated demos that go away after a while. I never understood why they always have to make it feel like, okay, those who were lucky enough to show up in LA get to play the thing that everyone could be playing around the world. Next Fest from Steam is there. They blast it everywhere, and you just play it everywhere. Like there have been years where that Xbox game that you want to play that you hear is in demo form in E3 is also on next Fest on Steam, and you can play it there too. So the only one that loses out is the Xbox gamer who could have played that game on the demo in a demo format but didn't get it. Like it's weird to me they don't do that. It's just I don't know.
That feels like the future. Like you basically you can say, hey, you got 48 hours to try all these demos, and you can't play any of them longer than an hour, right? And
it's not to say it's new. What you're describing now happens all the time on PlayStation, happens all the time on Steam. I think even Xbox has experimented with giving you a demo and then taking it away at some point. I feel like this is one of those old parts of the game that made people who were made to come local feel special because you got to try that thing that you couldn't try because you were home. But at this point, we don't need that anymore, right? It is a remnant of a bygone era. So, Hargeet, I will look for you to report back when Game Fest is done for the year. if it is as good as it hopefully seems that it may be, maybe it will make the decision of 2024 a bit more difficult, whether it's Gamescom or Game Fest, because I'm doing one next year. I was going to do it this year, but that turned into a beefy PC. Maybe next year. We'll see how it goes. But okay, while we're heading towards our ROG Ally talk real quick, a quick aside for those who may not know that if you haven't had a chance to yet, this is your final time to play Diablo 4 demo, well, beta, until it officially releases, because this year I think it's open. I think it's an open beta on all platforms until Sunday. So until May 14th, if you haven't played Diablo 4, which I opted not to play this year because at the end of the day, I love that game so much that I was like, why waste my time on a build that will eventually get washed away? I'll wait until the game comes out properly. But if you haven't tried it out and you really want to hear what the fuss is about, I suggest you jump on that real quick. This is not really a topic of conversation. I just thought I'd throw that out there so people know that this is the weekend to try it out. One last topic before we head to ROG Ally land. And this is interesting for the Xbox fam in the house. And I will start with you, Everborn Saga. We have another report of a developer who says that Game Pass actually hurt their title. I don't know if you guys heard about this one. This is by the developer who split from Limbo, Inside. You know, after Inside came out, the team split into two various teams. One has Cocoon coming out soon, and the other team made Somerville. If you recall, Somerville came out, had somewhat of a splash. People had some issues with it, but by and large, it came out, and it seemed like it was a pretty good, interesting indie fare. But now the developer of it, even though the headline is a bit salacious, realistically the developer is saying more like he likes the old school model rather than the new school model. Yeah. Being that he wants, I build my game, I put it on the market, you pay for it, and that's it. Rather than the new world where I have to build my game, maybe I get a subscription fee, then I get additional monies, then I keep you on the hook, or I have the incentive to keep you on the hook because of subscription services. I want the old model. Is basically the long and short of it. Everborn, I don't know if you paid attention to this. Did you read this? Did this come out? Did this hit your
I did.
Twitter?
This is my first time hearing about it.
Okay.
My timeline, my algorithm has been flooded with Tears of the Kingdom praise and bad takes alike. So I think it's never a one size fits all.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So, you know, there are going to be devs where, because you take a gamble, right? You say, like anyone who believes that their game would do more sales than Microsoft is willing to offer, then it's not a good deal for you. That doesn't mean, and this is the problem, right? We're big kids, right? We understand two things can be true at the same time, right?
Yep.
We understand it's for one game it may make perfect sense and it may help out a lot, and for another game it may not work. And so if you were doing business and you were not sure about how many box sales you could do, right? Individual sales you could do, traditional model, right? Versus you knew and you were looking at your internal metrics, you were looking at the social mentions, you were looking at sort of the zeitgeist around the product you're releasing, then that's going to help you inform your decision, right? Yeah. So maybe you want to cover your development costs. Maybe you turn a profit in what Game Pass pays you, and then you make your money up on the other platforms. Or maybe the numbers that you are looking at are, you know, you would make more. So, for example, people looked at Cult of the Lamb, and a lot of people wanted that in Game Pass. But the excitement that they were getting from people playing their demos and all these other things told them a lot of people are interested in buying this thing. And they ended up doing 1 million copies in the first weekend or first month or whatever.
And by the
right?
way, I
And
bet
would it have
that
made
game will
sense?
still most likely come to Game Pass at some point. I bet it will.
Sure,
At some
later
point.
on when
Yeah.
the sales died down, and that's how it works. So I do think we got to stop saying, well, this one thing is an example of why it can't work at all, or it's bad at all,
or vice versa. Right? It's not. Yeah.
Right. So again, it is going to depend on the game. Now, the games that normally wouldn't make sense to be there because, like, so for example, GTA 6, there's no reason for them to put that on there, right? If Microsoft wasn't buying Activision, there would be no reason for Activision to put that game on there because they're going to get the sales anyway. Right? Now, if you are the platform holder and you have other ways of amortizing the cost that you are going to... so when I say the cost, I mean you're going to lose money by not getting those box sales, but you're going to make that up on subscriptions, and engagement and those things. But you can do that as the platform holder. Why? Because now you've drawn people into your ecosystem. They're going to spend money not only on this game, but other games in your ecosystem where you get a 30% cut. So it will make sense for you to have high profile AAA, very expensive titles in there because they are what? Marketing beats for your platform. If you are a third party, you then have to make the decision to say, can I make more money in direct sales? Then great. Now, the other question here is, and I don't think we have evidence to prove this, but everybody has their own data sets that they look at. In the Xbox ecosystem, has Game Pass trained people to not spend money? Now, everything that Microsoft has said so far is that people do end up spending more money and trying more games because they have access to more, right? So I don't know that we necessarily have data, but maybe these developers do have.
Let me speak real quick, and he has an actual paragraph, like just a short paragraph that I want to read that basically quotes this and started that conversation rolling. And let me be clear. I bring this up not because I believe or disbelieve him. It's just an interesting talking point that keeps coming back. Some people say yes, some people say no. And these are all various points that add flavor to that ongoing conversation. And even in this instance where it seems like it may be negative, I think it's kind of skewed a bit as far as the reporter that's reporting it. I think it's a bit skewed. And the reason why I think that is why I'm going to read this paragraph to you, and you guys can see whether you think you agree with me or not. He says, I also think it hurts sales because a lot of people just go in and try it and don't invest. If you don't like it in say the first 10 minutes, that's it. Also, if you don't make the first 10 minutes amazing, maybe that's also a problem. I think Game Pass is okay. It's not my favorite. My favorite is the old premium model where I sell you on some video on a big image and earn your $30. And after that, I have to deliver. I don't need to get your money. I don't need to get money out of you later, right? The reason why I think that makes this conversation a bit more interesting is the nuggets of what he's saying there has more nuance than, Game Pass bad, right? It's actually, and it's 100%. Actually interesting, and it brings up a point that Everborn Saga himself has brought up, and that's why I thought this was a perfect topic for us to discuss, because Everborn is like, hey, you get me in the first hour or you don't have me at all, right?
Yeah.
And what is being said here, what's being said here is him bemoaning the fact that, oh man, back in the day, I could just give you snake oil. Oh, back in the day, I could just show you a cool whiz-bang video or just show you a big picture, and then you have to buy to see whether I'm true or not. But now I have to actually produce or you won't buy. I say, screw you there, sir. You better deliver or I won't buy. You see what I'm saying? They're making it sound like, Game Pass bad. But if you read his statement, it's like, yeah, now we actually have to make the game great from jump. Yeah, now we actually have to show you what the game's value is worth so you'll actually buy in, because you now have this method that gives you the attempt to try it before you actually have to commit. No. We like the old model where we could fool you with videos and pictures, and then you'd have to invest to realize whether it's true or not. Come on, people.
So you're saying there's some editorializing going on?
Yes. His statement, his
Well,
black
it's
and
not
white
just
statement,
editorial. Yeah.
his
it's not
black
even
and
just
white statement
editorialization.
doesn't speak to Game Pass bad. His black and white statement that he made is,
No,
I'm a graybeard and I like the way things used to be done. It doesn't speak to whether the way the new school way things to be done is good or bad. It just speaks to, I want it, me developer, I want it done the old school way because it meant I didn't have to do so much more. That's literally what he is saying.
Yeah.
Right? It's literally
back
what he's
in my
saying.
day. Back in my day, all I had to do is sell you at E3, and
Yes,
I was good.
All I had to do was show you a whiz bang video, and I'm done. Whether that whiz bang video proves that the game is good or not, that's for you to discover after you've already committed to paying for it, right? And he doesn't like that idea. Like, come on, why are we? You know what I mean? Like, to me, that is hilarious.
It is funny because he is. I don't know if he even realizes it. But he kind of called himself out a little bit.
Yes.
I do want to step back because some of the things Everborn said, like I'm glad you said that stuff, Everborn, because this conversation about Game Pass freaking drives me nuts, especially on Twitter. You know, where it's like it's good or it's bad or people are buying or they're not buying. I mean, I think we've seen plenty of examples where it's worked out for the developers, right? Like, but we have to step back and go, like, you know, one model won't fit all ever. And you know, like, and I don't like this narrative where people like kind of are constantly worried about, well, what. See, here's my issue with it is like suddenly we are worried about the sales of specific developers. Where was that worry when free to play and Sony's blockbusters like basically ate and you know, Fortnite was eating up all the time and money of the gamer, and then all the AA industry died out for a handful of years last generation? Where was this concern when you can talk to? I've talked to independent developers. They're like, they get high ratings, they put their game on Steam, and they just get lost in the shuffle, right? They get lost in the algorithm, and they just never get discovered. Like it's not like the traditional model doesn't come with downsides of its own, right? And there's games that review well. We see it year after year. There's games that review well, but don't
to your
sell.
point, that
traditional
model is what birthed all these other models because it wasn't good enough. After a while, people kept complaining. It birthed all these other models because it was not good enough.
No, yeah, absolutely. And the industry is going to benefit by having a diversity of models. And obviously, as a developer, you know, maybe you have to make that decision. You know what? I'm probably going to do better just selling myself on this video and stepping back and people just figure it out on their own. But you know, one of the things that some developers have found out is that when people are playing on Game Pass, it sort of ends up becoming like free advertising to all those that aren't on Game Pass, right? Yeah. At some point in the future, as that thing grows, the bigger the base, the more it will cannibalize the traditional sale. But also that's going to create opportunities for more payouts, right? Because Microsoft's going to have to compensate. If there's 50 million people playing that have the subscription, they're going to have to pay more for these games that people want. But the other thing to consider is you look at something like a High End Life that had 75 million players. You know what? That's 75 million players that played that game.
7.5 million.
Was it? That's what I meant. 7.5 million. I'm sorry. I'm still waking up. I haven't had my coffee. I rolled right out of bed into this. 7.5 million. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, Everborn. Thanks for correcting me. But 7.5 million players played that game. The next time they come out with the game, the mind share for that game, a game that came out that was just absolutely blasted by reviews, may not have had a great shot in a traditional model, but because people were accessing it on Game Pass with no risk, because it caught their attention initially, they were sharing clips, they were sharing that stuff out on TikTok and Twitter and whatever else, and that actually drove that engagement of that game. That IP is now worth more money probably than it might have been beforehand in the old model.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I do think. And this developer makes a good point. You might have to develop your games a little bit differently. You might not be able to take, you might not be like Days Gone and it takes you 20 hours before the game actually starts to become good, right? Like you actually have to get the attention of people early on. I understand that not every developer is going to like that, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, or you're going to have to sell them on the, you know, putting that investment in ahead of time. But I don't look at any of that as negative. I just think that it's different, and that's
Yes.
just what we have to accept. It's
And you know what?
different,
You know what,
and it has
OBM?
its
That's
pluses and
actually why I brought this up, because while I feel like the conversation around whether Game Pass is valuable or not is an interesting argument, interesting conversation to have, and we do have that in many different forms when different developers bring it up or whatever. But in this specific instance, it was so interesting to me that it was framed under that same Game Pass is it good or bad conversation. But then when you read his actual quote, he exposes himself so badly. You're just scratching your head like, dude, I think you just kind of, you know, you just kind of exposed yourself here. Maybe you should have thought about it before you said that. Either it might be his problem, the developer, or GameSpot's problem, because they're trying to say something without actually saying it because of the statements that were made here. But I just thought the whole thing was a little hilarious a bit. But okay, let us move forward. Let's move forward. I see.
People are making fun of my 75 million. Sorry, guys.
It's a Saturday morning. Calm down, people. It's a Saturday morning. You know, you expect everybody to be ChatGPT on a Saturday morning. You know,
75 million is what Tears of the Kingdom is about to do.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
that's right. So I see 127 people in here and only 94 likes. Ladies and gentlemen, please hit that like button. If you would, I would appreciate that. We're here. We're giving you false information on a Saturday morning, and you enjoy it. So please hit that like button. Come on now. But okay, we are here for that smoke, for that talk. Right, I see John Wolf in here constantly going, "Where's that ROG Ally talk? Let's go." He wants the knees, so let's head to that ROG Ally talk. Let's go there. Okay, so all right, let me frame it.
In case you haven't noticed, Mr. K Asante has been procrastinating for the whole show.
Not at all,
because he didn't want to get to this point.
For those,
but your time has come, sir.
For those who have not watched this show, when we have a big story, I save that one for the end. And I think this is a valuable story to save for the end.
Yeah,
this
for the last 15 minutes he saved.
But let us talk about this
it,
because this handheld device came into the market. A lot of rumors, speculation. It was announced on April Fool's Day of all days, right? And little by little, drip feed information has come out. Let's handle the elephant in the room right now, real quick, right from jump, right? Everborn Saga and I had a bet that I wouldn't be buying it day one, right? And I initially came on this air, and also even an ILP came on the air, and I had voiced my concerns, right? Now we'll get into the official the information that they announced and all that, the speeds and feeds and all that stuff that they had, and I had some concerns, and some of those concerns have been addressed. There are other concerns that I still have that we'll talk about, but yes, I did opt to buy one day one, right? And as such, Everborn Saga now feels that he can now claim the knees, which only works if his bet that he and I had a long time ago, which has come to culmination a long time, but he still refuses to admit it.
Your Honor, whataboutism?
And it will be strong and swift and will continue to sustain until he relents on the Sega ridiculousness. But let's move forward with the issue at hand here, ladies and gentlemen. The ROG Ally. It has officially been shown off. You can now pre-order it. I will start with you, OBM. I know you've been keeping an eye on this stuff, as we all do in this community. When this thing first announced, were you excited for it? Now that it has been officially released, not released, but like officially pre-orders are available now and all that, are you buying in or are you staying out? We'll start with that.
You know, it's interesting because the last time we were on, we actually talked about, or last time I was on, we actually talked about this, and I said I had no interest in it at the time, because I don't use handhelds a lot. But what sort of got my attention as a Game Pass whore, like somebody plays a lot of stuff on Game Pass. It has a library going across the console and the PC. The fact that they are now, Microsoft is now working with them and almost making this like a Game Pass boy in some regards, or showing us the potential that it could be that kind of machine. I became a lot more interested because I think that that changes the game for me, because because you're talking about a lot of games you don't have to rebuy again, right? So like whatever the cost of that device is, now you're just bringing your entire. It's not like with the Switch where I got to go buy each of these games individually.
And on the topic of cost of the device, let's put that out there as well. 500, so $499. If I'm not mistaken, no, yeah, 600, so $599 for the lower end entry point. Which, unlike a Steam Deck, which just gives you different tiered storage, this gives you a different tiered chipset. So the $599 one is a SoC that basically gives you, if you will, seemingly the same, if just a little bit better than Steam Deck quality as far as output. And the $699 one, the $799, the $700 one, that's the one that's I think almost 9 T-flops, 8 point something T-flops, far more performant, far more system on chip, far more capabilities, and that one's $700. But please continue. Yes.
Yeah, well, and you know how we'll all do it as 4090 i9 crew. We'll get the highest one when we.
Yes.
It's all or nothing, right?
Team 4090 Club. Let's go.
So I will say this, like, I guess I'm excited about the potential, and maybe it's not just the potential of this device. It might even just be the potential of this industry, because we're talking about this kind of following on the heels of the Steam Deck, and we expect Valve will probably come with a counterpunch again with another one soon-ish. I like all this talk. We spent time, last few weeks talking a lot about cloud, and is that actually a thing? It feels more and more like we are probably moving into this future where local handheld is, potentially the answer for everything. So for everything, when you talk about the core gamer and giving them that sort of convenience, that this might even replace the console somewhere down the road. I don't know. I mean, but the idea, hopefully, I'm not expecting this to be the perfect solution with Windows right off the bat, but hopefully this is something Microsoft continues to support and can make it. Hopefully this is a device that can sort of be the substitute for your PC gaming on the go.
Mr. Everborn Saga, take your victory lap. Go ahead and gloat, because I'll give you my points at the end of it. But go ahead. You have what, 10 minutes? Go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to start out by saying now I like to stack the deck, so to speak.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to talk a lot of smack about that, but if you're going to go there, no, I'm not going to let you.
No idea where you're going.
I'm not going to let him go there. No, I'm going to mute his mic. Nope. Let's be clear here. Everborn Saga wants to use
Sante is drunk with power. I just want to say
use
this.
Against me. He wants to use against me the fact that he's saying I bought 2, but let's be clear. I did not buy 2 because Everborn Saga had to go into work that day. He had to go into work that day, and because he had to go into work, he was afraid that his F5 game would not be as strong. So he said, hey, I know you're working from home. If and when you have the ability to, please buy one for me, whether you buy one for yourself or not, because then it'll ensure that I have one. And I said, all right, homie, I got your back. So when this thing goes off the line, and I'm like, okay, and I'll tell you why I hit the buy button in a minute. But when I did that and I bought 2, one for myself and one for him, he's like, oh, I bought one for myself anyway, and now I'm stuck with 2, and now he wants to use against me the fact that I bought 2, even though technically it was for him. But that's neither here nor there, sir. Go ahead. Continue your victory lap.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a lesson in attempting to control the narrative. Now, as I was saying, I like to stack the deck. Not cook the books. That's very different, but I do like to stack the deck. And so just in case Mr. K. Asante tried to get cute, I asked him to get one, because then I would have came here and still said he bought one, so I win the bet and I got the knees. But it turns out.
So what you were saying is, you were stacking the deck and you were being unlawful with your betting. I understand. Continue. Go ahead.
It turns out that he bought one anyway. So the fact is still the fact that he bought 2. This is the man that said he wasn't going to get it because his Steam Deck was good enough.
For the record,
and the TDPs,
I have canceled.
the 2. Wattage output. I don't believe you.
Yes, I have. I have canceled the 2, and now I only have 1. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, but all right, are you done?
So you wait.
Go ahead, keep going.
But you didn't cancel the 2. When you say you canceled the 2, that's like you have none less. Did you order 3?
No, I didn't order 3. I canceled.
No, you didn't. So you canceled one of them.
You can't cancel one of them when you order 2 at a time. Continue. Yeah.
Okay. So again, did you take advantage of that $70 off?
Actually, I think I did. Yeah. Continue. Yeah.
So, by the way, if you're using your Best Buy card, if you have a Best Buy card, you can use the Best Buy card, enter a code, and get $70 off.
Oh,
on top of that. Yeah, on top of the 12 months no interest.
And by the way,
if you have a Best Buy card, that is the way to buy it.
And by the way, the pre-order is still live right now, and when you hit the buy, you'll still get it day 1. So if you're still considering it, that deal's still out for you. Go ahead, Everborn. I want you to finish up. Go ahead.
Yes. So that's just a public service announcement. If you want to go get it, or if you ordered it already and you did not get that discount and you have a Best Buy card, I'm not telling you to sign up for a credit card. I'm saying if you have one, use it because it's $70 off.
Yep.
That being said, I got one before that, and I just don't want to chance it because I think there's Best Buy is kind of loose with the pre-order sometimes, and they tell you you're gonna get it day 1, but maybe you don't get it day 1.
Don't. Yeah. I guess you. Yeah.
So I will take the $70 risk. But if you haven't ordered it already,
do you know what the code is? By the way, because some people want to know. Do you know what the code is?
I'll tweet it out. I'll retweet it.
Do that.
I have it someplace, but it's a specific set of numbers. Anyway, so I knew Kay Asante, being the technology whore that he is.
So are we going to talk about the device or just me?
Not be all over it.
Are we talking about the device or just me?
Do I have 10 minutes or do I have 10 minutes?
You now have 6 minutes, but continue.
Okay, so let me say what I got to say. So I knew that he would get one no matter what, even if it was just to put it through its paces. And he was in denial, and I knew it, and I was right, and the knees are fantastic. They're up on the shelf. Now, that being said, this device for me, a lot of people are saying, should I trade my Steam Deck for it? Is it better than the Steam Deck? If I don't have a Steam Deck, should you get this instead? And to that, I would say I have to try it first. However, if it were me, and you are like a primary console gamer like myself, I would not get an Ally in lieu of a Steam Deck. I'm getting it in addition. So for me, because what the Steam Deck really nails is the console experience. You don't have to use the desktop. I know there's a bunch of stuff that you can do, but if you stay in game mode in SteamOS, which is the game mode, you will feel like you're using a console and you just use the Steam store. Right? And I love that experience. I love the way the Steam Deck feels in the hand. I love everything about the Steam Deck. But what the Ally is going to be is my emulation machine. And it will, but primarily, it will be my Gamepass machine. I am using this, and this is why it was so important to me that, Microsoft was out there. And even, they all had all the socials in line, like it was their own AAA title releasing. Right? They were all tweeting about it. They sent their head of hardware over there to do an interview afterwards. They're including free Game Pass with it. This to me, because I'd been asking from the beginning of the Steam Deck, I wish it ran Windows. This runs Windows, and they have a launcher. We'll see how good the launcher works. I do not care about battery life because my Steam Deck has never left my house. I'm not worried about that, right? I play the Steam Deck in bed at night most times. That's mostly how I use it. So for me, especially since the buttons are less clicky than the tap dancing Xbox controller, for me, this is my local Game Pass device, and that's always what I wanted it to be. So if you're choosing between the two, I'd probably go Steam Deck still. But if you have the means and and are fortunate enough to get both, this is the way to go in terms of this is the Windows device you want, because it beats the Aya Neo and those other ones, and I'm sure Kay Asante, you can speak to that, but it does beat them on price handily.
Yes.
Right? I think the price is
it
right.
Doesn't beat them on quality, though, but
discount.
it beats them on price. It doesn't beat them on quality.
When you say quality, what do you mean?
I mean, there have been some reports of it being cheapy, plasticky feeling, because that's where ASUS saves some money. They're a little more plasticky than your Aya Neos and your others because they cost more, obviously. But yes, it does beat them on price, which is unusual for a non-platform holder. You know,
and you have to ask yourself, and when we're not talking about slightly beating them on price by like $50, we're talking about like $300-400 they're beating.
Well,
them
but remember. So when we're talking about that price, Io Neo, GPD Win, they only make money when you buy the hardware. They have no deals with anybody, right? So they have to get the extra 50 or whatever bucks on top of whatever hardware they're doing. Whereas the ASUS, as we've now seen with Microsoft and all of that, and the logos everywhere, they are getting a little bit on the back end just for having those logos there. So it might keep the cost low. That's what I was talking about before when we had this conversation. You know, if Microsoft is propping them up and helping them subsidize that cost, that's why they can make that.
Well, it's not only that.
Otherwise, you would see ASUS come in just as the Aya Neo does because they need to make their money somehow, right?
But also you have to think that ASUS or ASUS, whatever you call them, they have distribution pipelines in place already, whereas the other ones, they don't have to do that, and they're selling these things based on the small operations that they have. That's why they have to crowdfund them and things like that. But again, that's neither here nor there. When we talk about build quality being better on Aya Neo or whatever, if it is, you have to think, is it $400 or $500 better? And I don't think that it is.
Right.
I will say, for the and it always seems like I am on the side of the Steam Deck when I'm not, because I bought one. I will say those who have both Steam Deck and the Ally are saying even the deck feels a bit more. So just so folks understand, this is all a game of concessions. Where will we make it? How will you as the consumer feel it? That's what this is all about. There is no compromise. It's all about compromises, right? The question is, where will Steam or Valve make a compromise that you won't notice? Where will ASUS make a compromise that you won't notice? It looks like Valve made a compromise on the screen and people notice, right? And ASUS made a compromise on the plastics and also the battery life, right? And the screen, they didn't make a compromise on. So by and large, that's a big selling point, big talking point. People are very happy with that screen. But the plastics and how you feel, the ergonomics, suffer a little bit. And the battery suffers a lot because it's exactly the same battery as a Steam Deck, but giving you more power. 1 + 1 does not equal 2 there. It will be even less performant than a Steam Deck will.
Wait a minute. Hold on. There's still a piece that you may be leaving out, sir.
Okay, I just started my ramble, but continue. What am I leaving out?
It is using a more performant architecture, right? It's using RDNA 3, whatever that means.
But
using that.
True, but within the realms that Steam Deck has its TDP limits, which are an overlap of the same realm that ASUS has their TDP limits for their Ally. When you're in like-for-like realm, Steam Deck performs better at the same wattage.
Also not true.
No, it is true. Look it up.
No. I'm telling you. This is what I looked into and what I'm telling you.
And you know how I say it's true? Because the Fox himself said so. You can go
fantastic.
Watch his
video. So what I'm saying to you is, at the silent mode, at the 10, see, because this is why I said you're leaving out. So at 10 watts or 9 watts or whatever, right? That's silent mode on the Ally, and I don't know what they call it on the Steam Deck. There, the what do you call it? The Steam Deck outperforms the Ally, but once you bump it to 15 watts,
well, but this is my point. Did you hear what I just said? You missed my point.
No, you said at the same, but we're only talking about at 1 wattage. So 15 for 15.
But
hang on. 15 watts for 15 watts, the Ally outperforms the Steam Deck. 10 watts for 10 watts,
no,
the Steam Deck outperforms the Ally.
You're missing my point. Because the Ally has predetermined wattage, you set it 10 watts, 15 watts, and so on and so forth. And when you add more wattage, true, the deck loses in that. But because the deck is dynamic in its wattage range and has a limit, when you are within the realm that the ROG Ally also is in, the deck can use less to do more. That's what it does, and even now,
this sounds like
look it
your
up.
deck check just cleared,
honestly, no. I'm just being look. I'm being straight with you. All jokes aside, within the realm where the deck has its limit, it does more with less than the Ally does, and that is the number one reason why Valve didn't want to iterate on their hardware, because they can't find a way of getting it as low as it continues to be while being performant. You have to throw more wattage at it to get the more performance, which tells you that the hardware is not at that. It's not at that level where you need to increase, at least not from Valve's perspective. Okay. But let me
again,
hold on.
15 watts.
You're making me hold
on. That's all I'm asking you.
Hold on. You're making me have to defend the Steam Deck as if I'm a representative.
I'm not making you do anything, sir.
Let me tell you why I bought one.
Let
me tell you. No. Let me tell you why I got one. Okay, so the reason why I ended up getting one is because there were certain issues that I had initially from jump that I wanted answers on, and there are still some that I do have problems with. And let me tell you where my issues lie, and then I'll tell you why I bought one. Where my issues lie still is exactly where it was before with Asus, because they don't have the best track record, right? And I said this before, and people were like, "What are you talking about? This is a hardware and all this." Even right now, 2 days ago, Asus is embroiled in controversy. Why? Because they released firmware on their motherboard that's killing processors. Right? Like if you have a new AMD hotness and you happen to have the wrong motherboard, the minute you put that AMD hotness in your motherboard, there's a chance it could roast your hundreds of dollar CPU, right? AMD board, Asus boards doing this, right? So they released, it became a big concern. This is as recently as a day or two ago. A big stink was made of it. They released beta firmware, but in order for you to, first off, you get that beta firmware, you upload it, and it hasn't worked. But in order for you to even get access to that beta firmware that might potentially solve your problem, you have to sign a thing that says they are no longer valid, their warranty. They are no longer held liable if this doesn't work. So not only are they not solving the problem at hand that's roasting your machine, they're making you like obfuscate their responsibility in order for you to try the potential fix for it. This is as recently as yesterday, right? To the point where many big creators, many big distributors are saying, "Sorry, Asus, we're done with you for all the BS that you're pulling." So all that stuff still gives me worry about Asus as a support platform moving forward. But let me tell you why I bought one, okay? To me, what put it over the edge for me was it's kind of like the Samsung Galaxy to iOS, if you guys recall back in the day. Like right now,
that was my analogy, but go ahead.
Yeah. Right now, iOS and Android are pretty much the same. They've come pretty much to a mature level where they're pretty much the same. But in the beginning, Asus, iOS was the game in town, and Android wanted a foothold. Specifically, Samsung's Android wanted a foothold, so they threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at the hardware. You would see, oh, well, this is a feature where if you're blinking, it'll pause video. If you move your hand this way, they just kept throwing snake oil at it, right? And then some of those features stuck, right? That's what it seems the ROG Ally is doing right now in the space of Windows versus the Steam Deck variation. Like, my initial issues with what they were showing was, hey, will you solve a lot of those gaps that Windows presents, right? And it looks like they have done so, but in doing so, they have added every feature known to man to let you be able to access it as a shortcut with the command center and with their armory crate thing. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays, because to me, that's very power usery. And that made me go, okay, that might help me solve the problems that I have been solving myself manually on the Steam Deck side. right? Because on Steam Deck, you have to do all of that manually. And it looks like they have spent their time playing with the Steam Deck and going, okay, if you have a Steam Deck and you're running it on Windows, what are your pain points? And they have worked to solve that. So to me, that's pretty exciting. And also another reason why I opted to buy is the fact that in addition to, where the analogy of iOS to Android really lives, in iOS, they won't let you go beyond their guidance, right? Unless you really work hard to get outside, jailbreak and all of that. Whereas in Android side, they'll give you guidance, but they'll let you go wherever you want, right? And the ROG compared to the Steam Deck, it looks like, although they set the 3 TDPs, as you were describing, Everborn, your silent, your medium, and your turbo and all that, they also give you manual mode, where you can just say, okay, screw my battery, plug it into the wall, I'm going balls to the wall, I'm going to do all the experimentation that I want, because they allow you to do that. Whereas Steam, it's not to say that Steam won't allow you to do that, but you need to install a lot of third-party software in order for it to allow you to make more dynamic, modifications of their systems. So, all in all, like you, Everborn, if you are, before I even say that, I've heard a lot of people ask me, hey, is this the one I should buy as opposed to the Steam Deck? If you are a Windows tinkerer, I say yes. This is better than the Steam Deck if you are a Windows tinkerer. But if you are a console guy who is all about the console and wants an Xbox mainstay handheld, but you're a console guy, I kind of still think you should wait and see. Because much like that Galaxy analogy, the first iteration of those Galaxy phones had way too many features. They were doing way too much, and many of them had to be thrown away in favor of the ones that worked. And right now, it looks like Asus is throwing the kitchen sink at it, and many of them will make this thing even more complicated than it should be. So it seems.
So just let me add to that point, just like a future outlook, because I know we're rounding the end.
Yeah, of course.
I think for this to truly become the Xbox handheld we all want, one, it would actually have to be an Xbox.
Sure.
Right? Which is, handheld Series S, whatever it is.
Which I'll be honest with you, it would kind of be limiting compared to this, because this is an Xbox plus everything else.
But I don't need everything else. Like I have the Steam Deck for that.
Of course.
So so that's one thing. And again, I'm on the train. Just remember, this is where you guys heard it first. I think the next Xbox they should go the Switch route and be handheld with an external docking station that gives you the power of an X equivalent. But the main SKU is handheld. That being said, I think for this to really truly take off, and this is the first step towards that, with Microsoft sort of embracing this thing and there being a lot of eyeballs around it, is for, like when Microsoft wanted to get into tablets, they made a tablet mode and they made Windows touch friendly. They need a handheld gaming mode. They need a gaming mode for Windows that will do what it needs to do with icons and have a user interface and an overlay that is like how you had the start menu that took up the whole screen. You need something like the Windows 8 start menu, but for games. That is
why I'm super excited about this handheld segment, because we need that Skunkworks project, that hackathon, to become an actual app you can download from the store.
Step for that. This is why I want this to be popular, and I want it to spur other people to make devices like this.
Real quick,
that will make Microsoft really want to jump in.
Real quick, let me add one feature to the equation here, which Beast Mode 10 put in the chat, and I appreciate you, Beast Mode, always bringing that good information. I want to highlight this as well. Another thing that may be good or bad, for people who are all about, hey, it's running Windows, many reviewers both say put in the good column and the bad column that it's running Windows, because Windows is a bloated beast, right? It continues to be a bloated beast. I am excited about this device, and I will, you guys will probably see content from me when this device comes out and I'm able to get my hands on it. But one of the first things I'm going to do is most likely uninstall, wipe this device and put Tiny 11 on it. Because people keep saying, oh, this is the fat, full version of Windows when they're talking about it, both Asus representatives and others. That's detrimental, because it has so much stuff in the background running, and
Right.
it's good on
Don't need all
ASUS.
that.
Yes, it's good on ASUS because they've built enough overhead in this device that it can still keep doing what you need to do while running all those needless services. But one thing that ASUS does pretty well is whenever they do release a piece of hardware or a product, they then give you all the drivers on their website. So one of the first things I will most likely do when this thing comes out is wipe it, grab all those drivers, install Tiny 11, and then reinstall all those drivers. Because one of the first things you see when you look at all the reviews is, like, as soon as this thing boots up, it doesn't boot up in their Armory Crate interface that shows you, console-like experience. No, it boots up in standard Windows and shows you like Candy Crush and shows you Spotify and all the other bloatware that comes standard with Windows, which you don't need on this thing, right?
No.
And the Candy Crush and all that bloatware, that's just what you can see. A lot of that bloatware is in services that you never see, but it's just eating your services. You know what I'm saying? So it is good to note that while, yes, it's great, it's running Windows itself is not an operating system that's conducive for small handheld devices, although people know it so well and want it to be the device that runs this thing. Linux, for whatever you can say, Steam Deck, they did it that way because Linux is like a drop in the bucket of resources as compared to Windows. So it makes kind of sense. OBM, you were going to say.
Yeah, so now I got a question for you guys because both of you have been making some really good points to the point that I'm actually about to pre-order one today.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got it.
So I can have something to play in bed. But, Everborn, you said it. I heard actually Jez say it yesterday too, like, hey, Microsoft needs to come out with their own device.
Yes.
But don't you guys think, though, that really the best case scenario would be something like this?
Yes.
This kind of taking off, and over time, like, I'm not talking about today. We know Windows is bloated today. You're gonna have to do some things, and Kay Sante, I am going to reach out to you to kind of figure out how to do all. I haven't had to mess
and
around with stuff.
Hargeet Chani just put the code in the chat.
Let me bring the code on the screen. So if you have a Best Buy card and you are in the market, that is the code to use in order to save $70 whole in these here United States. Sorry for those who are not in these here United States. But if you are, use that and you'll save $70.
Why did you just get a Southern accent just now?
Well, nah, I don't know what you are talking about there, yeehaw. Continue.
No, and it's not even a Southern accent. It's like a Texan, like, good old boy accent. It's not even like a. What's going on?
Yeah, thanks, Hargy. I'm actually multitasking now. I'm talking and I'm ordering mine. But so, like, I guess so. The thing I'm wondering, because I think that sounds good on paper, but like long term, like you gave that example about how the Androids, kind of come along over time, and like if this gets popular enough, and Microsoft, they want to be everywhere, and maybe they are starting to see that local portables actually got more upside than cloud in the future. I'm just saying these are all ifs, right? Like, I don't know what they're actually thinking, but like if that is the possibility, and it's like, hey, we just want to, no matter what device you're going to grab, we want to be there. Wouldn't the true potential, the best case scenario be something where, like, Microsoft is actually forced to create an operating system that is just for gaming, that is on all these devices, all these devices that are competing, iterating year after year? Like, isn't that really the better scenario than just having a Microsoft?
And
so what you're talking about is licensing an Xbox OS.
Yeah, but that won't happen. Basically. That will not happen because they've already been bitten one too many times by licensing, to the point where they're unlicensing Windows as much as possible now. They are not going back in the licensing direction.
To understand about Windows, if you go back with Windows licensing, I learned this back when I was doing. Anyway, doesn't matter where I learned it. But if you pay attention to Windows licensing, back when they were doing the tablet push, they updated the licensing to say
screen sizes.
That if you're right, and the reason these are 7 inches is because Windows on 7 inches has a free license that you can get.
They're literally trying to undo what they've done to make it easier for them.
So manufacturers can make these things without having to pay that Windows license to Microsoft if they keep it at 7 inches.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I feel like there's a pause in there somewhere. But okay.
Yeah,
I see what you did
absolutely,
there.
sir. Absolutely. But to your point about Microsoft licensing it, right? I honestly think that your point is valid as to them not actually making a. They could make a handheld, right? And I think it would be valuable for them to make a handheld. But to your point about leaving it to their partners, I honestly do think that leaving it to their partners is still very valuable, because now they can get this bite of this apple, right? And everyone knows it and everyone agrees it's an awesome device and blah, 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 blah. And then the next device gets the same bite at that apple, and the other device gets the same bite at that apple. And all of it heads into their game store, and all of it uses their app stores to continue to perpetuate Game Pass, which is their Netflix, which if you know, Netflix lives everywhere, not just
That's the
on
point,
the Netflix
right?
own device, right? So,
Right.
So
while I agree with you, Everborn, that there is a future where they can thread that needle and have that hybrid device that then creates the Surface device, if you will, which creates that reference design that everyone should adhere to. I do see, and you know, we talked to a lot of people in the background and all of that, but there is a strong effort by Microsoft here to pay close attention to what this does, because that will mean a lot to what their actions are in this handheld space moving forward.
So here's the thing about that, right? So there are two separate conversations, right? There is the licensing, which is the Windows route, and I agree with Rodimus, which says you need a Halo device, a Surface device to guide the partners for what they can make, and then they can beat that on specs or price, so to speak. But that's your sort of Halo device. And if you want to push a mobile store, this is the way to do it. Have devices, so have a custom variant of Windows that you can use, or a wholesale Windows mode that can be turned off for enterprise, but it's still Windows for if you want to do that for your OEMs to use. And your whole thing is about mobile. So because they're not getting out of the console business, so I'm saying that should be a mobile SKU for next gen, again with an external GPU, and then that will allow it to compete with whatever PlayStation 6 is. And then on the licensing side, they will be using a new version of Windows 12, so to speak.
Did you say PlayStation 6, sir? Because didn't King David tell you the PlayStation 6 won't exist? I'm just saying.
Whatever. The point is, on this side, they need a Surface device, and they need a version of Windows that is designed around this new mobile store that they're trying to create. And that's how you do it, because you cannot get a foothold on phones, because that's a duopoly that they don't want to let you in. So make your own device. You're positioned, you have a strong position in gaming. You actually could hold the line as a gaming device for a gaming ecosystem, more so than you could trying to make another mobile phone. So I do think they need to make a Halo device a must-have device, and I think they do need to proliferate to their partners, but that's on the Windows side. So you update Windows, and on the console side, for the people that want that, I think you can do both, and it can use the same store. That's all I'm saying.
No, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. But like, I honestly think that in addition to that dream, which I really do think can become a reality, it can become a plan. I do think that because they are a team that has already started in the world where, hey, we're just going to make sure this stuff lives everywhere. And if you are a platform holder that's okay with this living in your platform as well, we're going to allow that to happen. And because they are in that business model, it is in their best interest to continue to be this way, in where they allow it everywhere, right? And as such, not only do they allow it everywhere, they also, like, in their own operating system, put together a way that allows you a developer, not a developer, an OEM that makes hardware to then also get access to a front end that can make them shine. So you don't have to depend on your Armory crates or your other devices that may or may not give you the best experience. Because another problem that if you read a lot of these reviews, another problem that's seen as a slight is Windows. Oh, there are bugs everywhere. Oh, the Armory crate app doesn't load right. Oh, it skips. Oh, this happens. I've had to reboot and it crashes on me multiple times. Like a lot of the reviewers who actually have this thing in their hands today have reported that as well, right?
Okay,
So,
but wait a minute. Wait a minute about that, right? Like to me, I just. That's a wild claim to me, saying Windows is the problem where most gaming, like 90 whatever percent of gaming, takes place on Windows.
Yes,
right?
but you and I both know. While I agree with you,
the Steam Deck is because they're basically doing like workarounds in the background to get you to play your Windows games
where you're
on that.
mistaken.
So
where
Windows
you're mistaken,
is the positive. Where
you're mistaken is in Windows land. The overhead really does matter, right? If Asus came at it with, oh, we're now going to give you this device, but using a Tiny 11-like solution, that'd be one thing. They are touting the fat, full, normal Windows, which comes with Windows Cruft. Like they literally installed the version of Windows that you would get on your standard laptop on this thing, and that is a mistake. It is a mistake, and it's not a mistake but that I am just saying it's a mistake. Many reviewers who are far more lucky than I am, who've had their hands on this thing, keep saying that it keeps crashing, it keeps doing this. And let me be clear. Over time, I'm sure Asus, seeing how popular this thing is becoming, will get another bite at that apple. They will most likely release new firmware that will make the Armory crate work better, and all that will happen. But I guess what I'm saying is the idea that Valve put Linux in there as the background on the back end was not a detrimental thing. It's kind of like how
until you want to play Destiny or COD.
Well, but let's be
no. See,
but
Windows
hold
is where
on,
gaming takes place.
Hold on. The Destiny or COD problem is Destiny or COD's problem, not Valve's problem.
Of course, because nothing's Valve's fault ever.
No. See, okay, stop it, Everborn. Seriously, because
wait, before we go forward,
let me finish. Let me finish.
No, this is separate.
They have already solved the anti-cheat problem.
OBM has to go. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
just
that's all good.
I will let you go. Okay. I'll let you go. I needed it to be clear because there are lots of misconceptions perpetuating the PC world.
You needed that Valve check to clear.
No. Anti-cheat has been solved already on Linux. It's just the platform holders, the game makers have to adopt it. And Bungie would rather ban you than implement the new solution. It is what it is.
Okay.
Like, it just is.
Let me ask you a question. Let me just ask you a most basic question.
Sure.
You keep talking about this monster PC you just built, right, for gaming, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't you run Linux on that?
I actually am running Linux on that. I have a dual.
Is that where you're doing all your gaming on Linux?
I've
done both. Or are you doing your gaming in Windows?
I have done both.
Where are you doing most of your gaming at?
Actually, believe it or not,
don't try to win the argument. Just tell the truth.
These days, most of my gaming is done in the cloud. So there you go. Yes. No, but to your point,
your sidestepping, your gym moves.
Well, let me finish. I have Helio OS installed, which is the Steam Deck OS, dual booted with Windows, and I've been, because I want to see what runs better and all of that. So I've been testing them back and forth pretty frequently. I'm even level on Steam, on Helio OS as well as Windows. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is having Linux on the as a background for this handheld device that's full of concessions is not detrimental, right? And more will find that out when you get that in your hand. It's kind of like saying, oh, well, what did they say? It's kind of like saying, what the heck is that thing? Quick resume is a buzzword until you get it in your hands and you compare it to the other platform and then go, I guess this wasn't a buzzword. Right? These things will be found out as more people use them. The
chat is coming for your neck, KS.
Oh yeah. The chat.
Hashtag exposed.
The chat has every right to come for my neck. You guys have every ability and every capability of coming for my neck. I'm just giving you my truth here, ladies and gentlemen. And Hargeet Chani with a $5 super chat saying, I just built a PC, a desktop PC to connect to the TV. It is still very good controller-based interface. Windows needs a lot of work here. This is my point. So Hargeet understands exactly what I'm talking about. Look, the future here is not about the ROG Ally or the Steam Deck or the Valve or any of these devices. It's the future here, the bright future that you want is Windows and Microsoft understanding and realizing that, hey, this segment matters, so let's build an interface that can work best on any device that kind of happens to need it, right? So then you can put it on your Steam Deck or your ROG Ally or whatever device comes tomorrow. That's all that this is, right? And to me, if you're going to solve the problem, look at all the people that are doing it best and copy them, right? And to me, that is both Valve and, in certain instances, it's ASUS here as well, because they've solved some Windows problems that Valve had no incentive to solve, right? Because they're doing their thing.
Here's a question for you. If you do the Tiny 11 install on this, do you still get the hardware keys that that extra software they have running to do the overlays?
I can't give you that. Things. I can't tell you that 100%. Well, let me finish.
That's why I would be weary about it. Let me finish. All I'm saying.
I can't tell you that 100%, but I can tell you with 95% certainty because, and I use that because of my history installing ASUS motherboards. You know, they put all their software and all their drivers and all the support for whatever product they have on their website in the support under the support page when they have the device release. So presumably when that device releases, I will be able to download every piece that makes that thing the ROG Ally as separate device drivers, put it in a folder, and then install Tiny 11, install all that on top, and you will have an ROG Ally with Tiny 11, and it will run without all the background cruft. Right, so I will definitely try that. I will definitely be doing that. And Tiny 11 is not the only one.
All those arrows.
Of course you will.
And I'll come back and get the cleanup kills.
Of course you will. That's what you do. Of course you will. And by the way, for those who don't know the conversation we're having, we've been talking ROG.
And shout out to 108 Dragons in the chat.
Shout out to you, good sir. Appreciate you being here. For all of those who are still, within the ROG Ally conversation that we've been talking about, I am now actually on my Best Buy page because I wanted to, when you were talking about did I use the deal, I will look now. And I'm telling you, not only did I use the deal, but I'm of course a Best Buy, I'm a Best Buy member. And as such, I also have, when you buy a certain amount of time, you get like what do you call it? You get like coupons, cash back, if you will. So ultimately, I ended up paying for the $700 variant. I ended up paying $624 with everything done, including shipping.
Are you sure you're gonna get it day one though?
It says standard June 13th. So there you go, day one.
Because I'm back and forth about I want to save.
We know where you're from, sir. We know because we have the digital receipts about how butthurt you were when Valve chose to not allow you to be part of Steam Deck Crew Day One. We got all of your hurt and pain, so we know you don't want to join that group again.
This is why I'm going so hard for the Ally.
I know you are because you've been once bitten, twice shy. I get you. I get where you are coming from with your round of slander. I completely get it. But let's end this conversation because we are at the end of it, and we need to keep enough time for those who choose to go about their day and have a good time. We have had a great conversation here with still over 120 people still in the chat with 112 likes. So thank you guys so much for the likes. Please, if you haven't hit the like button, please think about hitting that like button before we get out of here. We thank you guys so much for being here and all the amazing conversations we continue to have. As we've said at the beginning of this show, we are now starting the process of making some changes to the channel, making some changes to content, things like that. So if you have any suggestions, any recommendations, any criticisms, anything, leave them in the comments when the show goes up. We read all of them. We're gonna take them all in and make updates to our show, make them better for you and yours. Mr. OneBadMutha, the man who does not need to be announced because he can just show up whenever he feels like it, and we appreciate the company. Sir, thank you for being here. Tell me what's going on Xbox Era. Tell me what's going on with you personally. Where else we can keep up with you and your goings on throughout the week.
Well, first of all, as always, and you guys know this, I love talking with you guys. You guys have some of the most fun conversations out here, and you bring in details and like you do your homework, man. You
try.
Guys are like you guys are like encyclopedias for like everything, But it's because Everborn needs every like last fact when he runs into those like Twitter spaces, right? So he needs all that ammo. So he comes really prepared to the show. But I kid. But I just want to again thank you guys for letting me to come on and for giving me that opportunity just to kind of roll out of bed and just pop on your show whenever. And I do have you talked about some changes you guys have been making recently. I've made some personal ones as well. I don't know if for those of you who haven't heard, last Thursday was my last episode hosting that you had me at Halo Show, and I love my friends at Xbox Era, and I'm going to continue to support them. But I let John know, I let the core group there know that I was going to step back for some personal reasons, but then eventually I'm going to come back with my own channel. It's something that I've thought about probably for about a year, really just a chance to kind of unwind creatively, and the only person I have to worry about getting canceled is myself. And so that's going to be something. Look for that to come in the next couple of months. But I also want to take the moment here, since you guys are allowed me to kind of speak on it, just to thank everybody at Xbox Era. One of the reasons I kept saying was that they have a lot of cool things planned over there, and I'm really excited about it. So keep a lookout for them, but also keep a lookout for me. I'll be coming up with my own channel here very shortly. But again, all love, guys. Appreciate you having me on this week.
Oh, excellent! Absolutely. And Mr. Everborn Saga, I know we are at the end of it. There will be a lot more ROG Ally talk. There will be a lot of more slander to be thrown around left and right here and there. But until then, where can folks find you? Will we be seeing more Tears of the Kingdom conversations from you on the old Twitter streets, sir?
Wait a minute. Okay, I couldn't find the window. Yes. Yes, you will see more Tears of the Kingdom as I am amazed and surprised about it. I will share these things. I will start to get more creative with my building in there, and we're gonna see. I think this is gonna take over my life for the next at least month or two. So Diablo's gonna have to wait, because I don't think I'm gonna be done with it by the time Diablo comes out.
And
so
Mr.
Diablo's
John Wolf
starting to seem like July.
Mr. John Wolf saying Tears of the DLC.
Oh God.
Let's continue, sir.
Speaking of Mr. John Wolf, I'm not gonna answer that nonsense take. But I don't know if I'm gonna get the external GPU. I want to see what the experience is like first.
Yeah.
Meaning, do I get the console experience? Does it feel good? And if it does, then I'll consider. And to that point, real quick, Mr. John Wolf, what you're basically talking about, and for those who are not aware, the ROG Ally comes with a proprietary port that allows you to connect a mobile GPU, and an AMD or NVIDIA variant, both the highest end GPU to it, so you can plug it into your living room. Mr. John Wolf, that 4090 is the equivalent of a 3080, 3090 that's in your machine right now, but in your living room. So you might as well just pick up your living room TV, pick up your PC and put it in the living room if you're going to do that. And it's going to cost you $2,000. So I don't know, man. I want to see a bit more research on that. The 3080 is already performs way better than the consoles, though, right?
True, but the 3080 is also way less than $600 right now if you really want one. So just one of those things. But yes, Everborn Saga. Any other new thing we need to keep up with you and your ongoings on the internet before we go?
No, just like we talked about it at the top, right? We're in the level design phase because all of our mechanics are done in the game.
Yep.
And so we got to design 60 levels. And so anybody wants to get into that, we're prototyping in Mario Maker. So if you know Mario Maker, just hit me up in the DMs, and I don't, I'm paying for level design, so talk to me.
He will be amenable to your level design creation dreams. If you want to be a level designer, now is your chance.
As long as you follow the rules that we set out, like meaning what has to be in each level and the 3 routes. If you want to get into some of that stuff, your level could be featured in the game. So,
there you go.
Just reach out and we're designing levels. This is the fun part. We did the hard part. Now we're doing the fun stuff.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it has been an awesome show. I think we're at 3 hours and 20 some odd minutes. We'll leave you to it. There's still so much more gaming conversations to be had, so much podcasts to watch and discuss and whatnot. I'm going to go put the timestamps in the show notes together. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for the great conversation in the chat. Always, always so lively. Thanks to OBM for being here. The man shows up and we appreciate him for it. Every once in a while, you're gonna see him just pop up, and we can't wait for you to bring your channel together. And we'll definitely we'll definitely promote that when you have that available for people to see. So until then, have a great gaming weekend. There's gonna be a lot more handheld talk. There's gonna be a lot of slander. There's gonna be a lot of trying to claim my knees. It ain't going down because Sonic still did not beat Ragnarok. Have a good weekend, everybody. Goodbye.
Had to add the hate in the end. I understand.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, by the